Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series Austin, as we are in the midst of the round of 16, figuring out who's going to be moving on to gain themselves a lot more money, a lot more WCS points, all good stuff. I'm joined to my left by Rotterdam and Todd, who at the moment, looking at the current series coming up and looking at what we've just seen, Neeb looking good, Rotterdam. I'm sure you were having fun there.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just a solid series by him. I don't think it was the best Neeb we've ever seen, because I felt there were a couple of missed opportunities in game 1 and 2, but I think especially the longer the series went on, things just made sense, and he kind of followed his build orders. I do like the way, and that's something we've seen in the past as well from certain Zergs, where, you know, multiple times you kind of give your opponent a heads up that they could have to worry about a certain build, but it's not happening, where it's like, you know, one Oracle and then a Phoenix, and the Zerg knows, okay, it's going to be hard to scout. Should I worry? And then one game you don't worry, second game you don't worry, and then the last game, that's suddenly when 35 Adepts show up, you're like, oh my god, you know. I know this could have happened, but it was a solid series, but if Neeb wants to go all the way, he does have to step it up a little further.
All right, well, Todd, you're still in Ayasonu going up against Special, correct? How's that going?
Yeah, it's a really sick game, actually. I'm no salesman, but you're about to hear my thickest sales speech. Let's just go into game, and basically you're only going to want to, when I have to look at this game and just all the action that was happening, like especially started pushing towards this left-hand side here. That one base was well set up. He put a bunch of tanks there earlier, even a turret, and he was able to take it out. He's really fighting back here in a game which he was not necessarily doing. He was not necessarily in the best of positions, but now he's starting to face a bunch of these guys, the big cows, the ultras.
I'm shocked that we're looking at a 2-0 lead here from Ayasonu, Todd. Would you say it's like well-deserved? Did he just play better so far?
No. He's actually insanely good. Like, I feel like if you're a Zerg player, watch and rewatch these games, because like there's a lot of inspiration to be had here. From there, I do think that maybe Special was not necessarily in his best day in those first 2 games, but IAO has been playing incredible.
All right, well, we are almost ready to get into our next round of 16 series, so we're going to head over to the stage with Smix to get our players going.
Thank you very much, Colaris. Up next, we have a Swedish Zerg who is looking for his best finish at a premier event yet, but a Goliath stands against him as he is going up against a 3-time EPS champion and a tournament favorite. Please welcome on stage, it is Namshar and ShoWTimE!
All right, time for the immovable object in ShoWTimE to go up against the young hopeful in Namshar. And overall, Namshar, you know, we saw him at last DreamHack Austin actually in 2016, and he didn't do too badly there. But going up against ShoWTimE, that's a huge, huge test.
He's one of those guys that's been good for a really long time, but kind of like Lambo hasn't necessarily posted the results that we would have expected of him. I remember a while back, you know, when the meta was like Ultralis, Viper, Infestor, he was already giving Roddy a few nightmares in some of those games. And he's come a long way. He's finally started to have a little bit more of those results. We saw him over in Kiev last time during WESG, going really far and doing very well there. He's actually a guy who seems to have a good mindset about not putting too much pressure on him. I had a chat with him and he was like, oh, you know what, like as of late, I've been beating ShoWTimE. We've been trading games. It's been kind of 50-50 on ladder, and all like ShoWTimE confirmed that to me, that Namshar was one of the guys that he lost to from time to time. I mean, ShoWTimE has a 74% win rate. He doesn't lose all that much. But I think they both really know what to expect out of one another, and it's going to make for interesting games and an interesting series.
I do think it's a little similar to the previous series we just had. We have a Zerg that has been getting praise for a while and has been an up-and-coming for a while, but is still waiting for that one big result that truly sets him apart from, you know, a lot of the other good Zergs out there. If you think of Namshar, you think of a very strong European Zerg that you know you can't underestimate, but if I ask, you know, a lot of StarCraft fans, what is his best result ever? Everybody would have to think, it's like top 8 here, you know, like Todd said, at Kiev he was all right. And he's been around for a while. And when it comes to like a top 8 on the ladder qualifier for Challenger, he's there without a shadow of a doubt. So Namshar is truly a force to be reckoned with, but for some reason he doesn't have that one result that sets him apart yet. This could be the run, but it's very similar to what we just saw Lambo going up against Neeb. It's a very tough Proto standing ahead of it.
Yeah, that's the issue. ShoWTimE that yesterday said that he was the best here in his mind, with a little bit of doubts going up against someone like Cyril. So with ShoWTimE feeling like that and that kind of mentality, how does Namshar kind of overcome that kind of power?
I think, like I said, they are familiar with one another. When I spoke with him, he did mention to me that ShoWTimE was, in a way, predictable, which is, I mean, it's a good thing to know what your opponent is going to do, but if ShoWTimE is as good as he is with, the style that he plays, it's still pretty hard to beat him. I do think that the familiarity that they have with one another could play a big role here in Namshar's favor, because he's had a long time as well to think about this, like all night, about how to try and counter that ShoWTimE style. ShoWTimE can mix in different builds though, and he mentioned that to me as well. He's like, well, that's not very good for me. That's even though most of the time he plays standard and is predictable, he can throw in some of these builds. Remember when he had a lot of success over in France?
In tours.
Yeah, that was when he was mixing in a lot of different builds, like throwing in, some 7-gate adepts.
And the Tempest, man. The Tempest against Massa. That was like the coolest build ever.
We're not going to see these guys, right?
No.
But he's capable of doing stuff like that.
Yeah, that's funny, because like I agree there. ShoWTimE has the reputation of being the super solid, almost boring to some degree, macro protos that just always takes extra bases backs, but he's actually a little cheesy from time to time. But I'm not sure we're going to see it here against Namshar, because Namshar is, I don't know, he's just kind of a straightforward Zerg. He's just the type of Zerg that often tries to make as few units as possible in the beginning, then just masses units, which is kind of like the whole idea behind Zerg, obviously. But Namshar does it just a little bit better than a lot of other Zergs out there. But I feel it often comes down to one big attack, one or two big attacks, and if they don't work well, then it's safe to say that the series will lead towards ShoWTimE.
He has never lost to Namshar, actually. 5-0 in encounters. They haven't played in a while, neither this year. So if a good time to start winning for Namshar would be now, right?
Well, I'm getting word that the game is ready. So final short thoughts before we get into this?
I'm leaning towards ShoWTimE, 3-1 probably.
Okay, Todd?
I'm going to say 3-2 for ShoWTimE. I think Namshar can put up a fight, but it's still going to be really hard for him to take him out.
All right, well, thank you very much, gents. As we now head over to our commentary team for the next series, it will be In Control and Maynard. Take it away.
G'day guys, welcome back. Day 2, WCS Austin continues, and we have Namshar versus ShoWTimE, Swedish Zerg, German Protoss. This one's going to be a blockbuster. So a lot of people will be saying that ShoWTimE, their heavy favorite here. I myself agree with that. But Todd's brought up a little bit of a spanner in the works, and that Namshar has been trading wins, but that is on ladder, Jeff.
It is a different stage here. This is where it's for all the marbles when they used to play for marbles. Now we, of course, play for money, honor, and blood. ShoWTimE, by the way, quick little spoiler, in Will Ferrell's Esports movie, ShoWTimE is the arch nemesis big bully guy that he'll be facing. He is like he's like the perfect generation of gamer. It's like, he's like, you think gamers are fat and chubby and boring? Look at ShoWTimE. And then you look at him and you're like, you are a pillar of a human being.
He is carved out of marble. And the top left, the man in question. This is ShoWTimE.
You know, I heard he once laughed, but it was a mistake.
I don't think he enjoyed it either.
No.
And the bottom right, from Sweden, the Zerg, this is Namshar.
Namshar in one of those nice spots, though, where, to be frank, people are just looking at this and saying, ShoWTimE should win. ShoWTimE is the better player, the bigger name. And that takes a lot of the pressure off of Namshar, and like people have been talking about, they clash quite a bit on the ladder because when you're as good as they are, you start to kind of only see the same faces all the time. And while ShoWTimE is predictable, I do like the analysis and the discussion around, I know what he's going to do, but he does it so darn well, I don't know that I could stop it. That's going to be the narrative for this best of 5. Can Namshar find a way? Because you even go back to Lambo versus Neeb, and it felt like the same kind of thing. Although Neeb mixed it up a little bit more, and I think that makes him a little bit almost more dangerous in that matchup. You still knew what was eventually coming as a final composition for the most part, and it still looked like Lambo couldn't finish it off.
Yeah, pressure usually off the underdog and on the favorite, so ShoWTimE has that to deal with as well, but he is a cold and calculating StarCraft playing machine, just rarely ever shows emotion on stage, out of game. He is very much like like your innovations, like your TYs, but German. Lots of efficiency.
I mean, I remember back to even the past BlizzCon where he actually beat Beyond in the group stage before, and it seemed like an absolute impossible task. It was just incredible to watch.
Yeah. Who ended up being the world champion at the end of it all, so pretty incredible showing from the German Protoss here. Probe coming in here for a bit of a look, getting denied by these Lings here from Namshar. Everything looks pretty standard so far. ShoWTimE getting that Stalker out. Looks like he wants to shoo away these Overlords.
Yeah, Stalker a bit interesting in that situation, though, actually. Most people would go for Adept. Fewer than would even go Zealot, but Stalker as that cool option. You can see that Overlord right there is a pesky one. If it's allowed to live, obviously it'll relocate, but just having Overlord in that area means that it can constantly see things like, okay, you are leaving, you're taking a third, there's a probe transfer, that kind of stuff. So killing it here does a lot of nice stuff there. Again, that's where, yeah, I colored a little bit with the analysis of, yeah, but we know what ShoWTimE's gonna do. Oh, wow.
That high ground.
That spot right there. You know, how? By the way, a big fat Overlord blimp in the sky. It's like, I can't see it, it's behind those tires. All right.
Well, shout out to the map making team. It's a good spot there for those Overlords. So you can get a good look at the wall and then hide in the high ground, and somehow the Stalker just completely can't see it
It's
anymore.
a great spot,
it's just disappeared.
too. It sees both the third bases. It sees that kind of ramp. Not ramp, like the bridge leading away. Very good spot. It's not like the Stalker's a huge waste. Obviously, you can go inside the main and deny a scouting Overlord there as well. But a nice little move from Namshar. He's going to probe up there, or not probe, but poke up there with some Zerglings. Take a look. Try to stay on top of Protoss. A lot of Protoss gameplay is trying to catch you off guard.
Speaking of, we're getting a Stargate getting down undetected here by Namshar, but I mean, this is the regular time for Stargate, so he is putting down his regular spores just in case, because if you're unprepared for the Oracle, well, that's just not something you usually see at this level of play. So we do have the Oracle opening here from ShoWTimE. Doesn't look like it's going to do a ton of damage, but Oracle's that unit that it can be surprising sometimes, but you can get done with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we were kind of talking about at the analysis desk, I like it's not even very new, and it's of course always been possible to happen this way, but kind of the reimagining of the Oracle. It's no longer just like, oh gosh, it shows up and what damage does it do? Well, that's not enough. It wasn't worth it. It's more of a like, I force Spore Crawlers, the Queens have to stay close to home, so you're stressing the creep spread a little bit more, and then Revelation, staying on top of the army, or showing up with the double Oracle, which is what's become the norm. And then you can one-shot those drones, because it doesn't matter if a Spore Crawler and a Queen's throwing stones at you. As long as you get out of there before too much damage happens, you're going to get some damage in over time.
That's right. And if you keep those Oracles alive, they regen their shields, and back in you go. And they're also, yeah, I mean, this usually follows up with an Adept attack with the two Oracles in support, and that is the scariest part of this game for the Zerg. We see the Spore getting a little bit of damage on that Oracle, takes a shield damage and a little bit of hull damage as well, but it does live to see another day. 5 drones going down already.
Yep.
It's a good start for ShoWTimE. Void Ray follow up here to shoo away that Overlord that's been hanging over the tires here and get whatever damage you can. Clear out Overlords. Very easily done with the Void Ray, and Resonating Glaives coming up for the Adepts as well as the Robotics Facility. So this is all looking pretty stock standard from ShoWTimE, which is to be expected because he is a stock standard Protoss for the most part, as Rotterdam touched on.
He does not mix it up too terribly much, and he's also a very defensive Protoss, I'll say as well. You're not going to see a whole lot in the way of a timing attack. Ling's going to come over here. They might get an Adept, but at the end of the day, good surface area deniability there from those Adepts. In fact, they don't even get that.
Ooh, that's going to be a good chunk of drones here. No, Namshar does pull at the last minute, gets 5 drones. Stasis there by the ward. This is a cute little harassment that's been showing up lately in the meta, and I got to say I'm a big fan of it. I mean, not a big fan of receiving it, but watching it happen, it's pretty spectacular. Big Adept shade forward here as Namshar getting up to tier 2. He's trying to get the Hydralisk Den out. He's getting a bunch of roaches now, which I like for him because he is about to have to deal with a big Adept attack with that Resonating Glaive.
Nice job.
Unfortunate hatch timing for those drones.
He keeps trying. He keeps pulling back the drones, which is good, but here come the Adepts. One Queen goes down immediately, but there's almost no units here, just a couple of roaches. The problem here is not necessarily that he would win the fight, but what happens in the meantime. Shading forward again. And even the Adepts joining the fray, they're going to get 1 roach, a couple of drones there, but the shade into the main, there's nothing in there. It's going to cause problems, Maynard.
Yeah, already 1 Queen going down, the second one going to go down for sure, and 9 drones and counting going down here for Namshar. Already in trouble. I mean, he is starting to clear up the Oracles. Void Ray even joining the fray here, and these roaches are even going down. So, yeah, the drone kills, the roach count being thinned out here, and that's a lot of resources in these roaches. So, it's a really good attack from ShoWTimE. Even if he gets cleaned up, he's going to be in a wonderful spot.
Yeah, it's almost hard to call it a cleanup. It's like a salvage of sorts.
Yeah,
but
like
the Void Ray
pieces
is going to drop that 4th hatch in the background. And if you guys have been watching WCS Austin, you know that a Void Ray does 0 damage to a Leviathan, but to a hatchery, it actually does manage to do some damage to it. And it does kill that. So just a all-around bad news bears for Namshar. I like what you were kind of talking about, the resources invested in the roaches. Really puts Zergs in a pickle because they have to make roaches to defeat those Adepts. But in making those slow roaches, they're also hurting themselves in a weird way because there's no way to retaliate. You can't walk across the map and incur the same cost of the Protoss. You just kind of have to eat it a little bit there.
Yeah, most Zergs in the current meta, they prefer to go Ling and Bane versus Adepts like that. And, you know, it transitions better into the Hydralisk tech where they almost always go for against Protoss these days. Roach is not super great against Protoss at the moment, but, you know, obviously with the Immortals, Charge Lot, Storm, which we can see that ShoWTimE is going for, it's an incredibly tough nut to crack for the Zerg.
We'll have to see how Namshar bounces back. We do see that ShoWTimE has established that third. He's adding gateways to make it a little bit more resilient against the southern attack. And he's even taking a fourth base. One of the Oracles, I believe, did fall during the engagement, but they've gotten more than they're worth. And it's kind of nice and important to keep at least an Oracle out there. This harass is okay, but I really like the Revelation, just staying constantly on top of that Zerg army. Because one of the most dangerous tools in the shed, if you will, for Zerg is the ability to switch to like Mutas or something like that. But if you're constantly on top of their tech, that reveal of Mutas is actually very much so not impressive.
Absolutely. I definitely see some Zergs come back from the, you know, come back from a terrible situation like Namshar honestly is still in. Not so great a situation here. That is a massive stasis catch there. Tons of drones going down. War Prism from ShoWTimE heading through. And yeah, I mean, I have seen Zergs come back with a big Muta switch, but ShoWTimE knows that's not the case. He's dealing with a regular Zerg army here. Lurkers trying to get made here for Namshar. The Lurker Den is on the way, but it takes so long to build, and drones going down for him. He's taken another hit to his economy. He is 20 workers down on the Protoss at this point in the game, and that is not a good spot.
It is a tough spot indeed. The only like kind of silver lining there is he does have 4 bases up, so rebuilding those drones is not the biggest climb up a hill. Of course, in doing that, it's bad. I'm not trying to say it's good, but he is able to do it on some level. He's got 77 workers now. The problem for him is ShoWTimE has been so successful with all this harass. He's like the last Protoss on planet Earth to attack you, but even ShoWTimE at a certain point will be like, well, I mean, if you're not going to leave the game, I guess I'll usher you out of here. He's going to come walking over, and with that with that War Prism still out there, it is. Wow. I was worried about this. I mean, how do you deal with that? It's so tough.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't actually have the amount of units he needs to be able to split up. I mean, as I say that, a bunch of Hydralisks do hatch in the main, but they're not being controlled by Namshar. He's losing a bunch of these Hydralisks as the Protoss units are doing damage to the main. Meanwhile, the fourth base left completely undefended here.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He brought the entire army back to deal with that Warp Prism, and that's the beginning of the end. The fourth base is going to go down for the cost of a few Zealots. ShoWTimE being, well, I was going to say, yeah, he might. Being the safe player he is, he might actually just back away. There is a lot of Roach Hydra here, and if a fight goes really bad, I guess, somehow, with a mostly Zealot army, it is possible.
Yeah.
Then it could get bad, but ShoWTimE's just so far ahead. He's got that War Prism in the main. Massive.
Huge stasis, and he has a ton of storms as well. Lots of energy on these High Templar.
Be careful.
Yeah, it is still a bit concave of Hydralisk here. He does have to be careful. They're very, very high cast intensive units. Looks like he lost 1 Templar there. And he's pressing the issue, but Namshar, if he doesn't take an incredible trade here, is going to not have much hope in coming back in this game. He's lost his 4th hatchery. He's on 3. And we have Disruptor follow-up here for ShoWTimE. And his 4th Nexus, his economy is very safe right now.
Yeah, the Disruptor follow-up is incredible because even if somehow this entire army fell on its face and just disappeared, you always have a chance with Disruptors. It's a lot like keeping money in the banana stand. You always got money in the banana stand. But even so, right now what ShoWTimE is doing is he's denying a 4th base while having his own 4th. So this is an economic recession of levels that are very, very bad for Namshar. Like, he's just hemorrhaging units, not able to do it.
Couple nice buffs coming in here from the Disruptors. Not a huge amount of Hydras going down. The Storms are going to do the rest. Namshar actually up against the wall here at Abyssal Ring for these Hydralisks, getting bullied all the way back. That 3rd hatchery showing a soft underbelly to Protoss army, but Hydra DPS still shredding through this robotics unit, pushing ShoWTimE back to the Disruptor as well.
It's good, but I don't know how great it is. Even the creep is receded here. Namshar's putting up an admirable fight, but he's just being under siege at all levels. When he's winning a fight over here, that micro is costing him some Oracle damage to his mineral line. Disruptor hits just more of a warding mechanism at this point in time. And every single time Namshar has a little bit of a bad move, it costs him so much more.
Yeah,
so much more.
And he can't afford these losses, whereas ShoWTimE actually could take a huge loss to his army and still be in an okay spot with this massive bank that he has, all things considered. Disruptor hits coming in, cleaning up what's left of these Hydralisks, and it looks like that's going to be it for Namshar in game 1. GG. ShoWTimE. A clinic in PvZ being shown here. And he's just, he looks like he just played a ladder game.
He looks scary. I mean, these guys are in such amazing form for this WCS Austin that they look absolutely incredibly intimidating. I mean, I've noticed this throughout the tournament. We still are at that point in time where, like, Namshar has had a great run. He's doing good. He's only down 1-0, so I don't mean to write him off just yet. But in this game, how do you not come away from this mega impressed with ShoWTimE? It's like Namshar is just this background noise to showcase off ShoWTimE's abilities. Expanding on point, his oracles were a presence throughout the entire game. When I do this kind of stuff, my oracles are like pretty cool for about a minute maybe, and then I forget about them. ShoWTimE, it was a weird like extension of his body, constantly doing stasis wards. I don't think there was that much in the way of revelations, but he was more focused on slowing down the economy of Namshar, and he did it to great effect.
Yeah, the multitask ability, the clinical play from ShoWTimE, it's the kind of thing that separates a good player from a great player, and he certainly is a favorite for this tournament. I mean, that, like you said, that is game one, and like the guy said at the desk, Namshar has been trading wins with ShoWTimE, but this is the WCS Season 1 Finals at Austin, and this is a big stage here. ShoWTimE, very experienced. He's a WCS champion previously. He's won tournaments before the big lands, but Namshar, not so much. Doesn't have those accolades to his name just yet, but...
No, not yet. And I'll tell you what, I've been doing the commentator responsible thing where I'm like, well, the underdog story, hopefully Namshar can rally back. You know what? I'm going to do the mega hype thing. We take it to the next level. I'm going to discount Namshar. Get out of the way. ShoWTimE is just on a path to victory. I'm really looking forward to his showdown with Neeb. Unless, I don't know, Namshar can do something about it.
Wouldn't that be strange? In the bottom right here, from Germany up 1 game, this is ShoWTimE. We could not be more excited to be here on stage. And in the bottom left here, this is Namshar. Swedish Circuit from Dead Pixels.
We make jokes, but it's actually really cool. I mean, I remember back during Stefano's kind of reign of terror too, you would take a shot at him in the booth and it looked like he was, I don't even know what you would do to have that bored of a look on your face, you know, but that's ShoWTimE as well. These guys are so calm, cool, and collected, and that's what it takes. They're also so young, which I think is absolutely incredible. These guys are in their early 20s and they're sitting in front of thousands of people playing for large sums of money and doing it to great success. It's really, really cool to see.
The best pro gamers in the world have incredible discipline, and ShoWTimE's definitely one of those guys. I remember from the WCS Signature Series when you know, he made it to the round of 8 of BlizzCon, and you know, he's a runner, he's a fit kid, he's very looks after himself, and clearly practices a ton. So he takes his job very seriously, and it's great to see players like that be rewarded for it, which ShoWTimE certainly has, as far as you know, foreigners has been going.
It's fun.
He's doing a great job.
StarCraft's a mega international game, so I mean, like all jokes aside, he does portray a lot of the proud German stereotypes, like very hard work ethic, just a mind, body, and soul kind of guy. Like it's not just that he pours everything into one thing. He's very well-rounded. And it's just so cool to kind of see that in this game being expressed in the various different ways. But getting in the game here a little bit, Namshar is going to kind of go back. And that's one of the interesting things, too. He's not doing anything mega weird game 2. Newkirk is not a bad map for that very strong kind of parade push style of Zerg. Either third bases that the Protoss take have their own semi-form of vulnerabilities. This is, of course, a very balanced map, so I don't think it's fair to say that, you know, ShoWTimE's at a disadvantage here severely, but you can play to the map. And I like this from Namshar. It's a best of 5. Stay calm. Yes, in game number 1, you got pushed around, and it was a very one-sided affair, but Namshar's, he's been here before. He's been playing against these top-level European players for a while, and he himself is one of them. It's cool to see him remain cool here. So
last time we saw ShoWTimE play on this map yesterday, he actually dropped that pile in the very same position here in Yuko Precinct, and he got the Dark Templar tech out and went for that Archon Prism harass. It's a bit of an old school style in PvZ. Everyone's seen it before. Everyone's played against it, Namshar included. And it looks like he might be going for it again with a pretty quick Twilight Council, getting that Stalker as well to deny the Overlord Scout. Namshar not going for it just yet, but they are positioned in an ability to do so. A depth shading across the map as well.
Yeah, a lot of times Zergs will take the third that's to the right. If you look at Namshar's natural, it's to the right of his natural. And the Warp Prism kind of finds itself in like a Bermuda Triangle of sorts where it can just bounce around between the 3 bases, dropping off Archons and doing a lot of damage. And the initial DT harass can do some damage there as well. But Namshar did take the left side third base, which makes that a little bit less good. Of course, that's not something ShoWTimE could necessarily know. And it doesn't super diminish the ability for the DT/Archon drop to be good, but we'll hold the phone.
Yeah.
Maybe he's actually playing off that image of yesterday. He's going to go with a fast, resonating glaive upgrade. Still the Warp Prism, perhaps. And this is a little bit more of an old school. Like, it's been all the rage in the meta right now to be going Warp Prism Archon, but maybe you over-prepare for that, and all of a sudden it's a 35 Adepts.
Yeah, it could definitely be mind gaming Namshar here, and he's dropping a bunch of gateways. Resonating Glaives are nearly halfway done. Spore's going down here just for safety for Namshar. I mean, most Zergs will do this around the 4-minute mark anyway. But, you know, it's not a huge investment. Once again, Roach Tech here being chosen for Namshar, so he's really afraid of that double Oracle Adept push. But, so we can see it's going to look a little bit different here from ShoWTimE. It's going to be just pretty much Adepts with the Prism.
And both of the aggressive flavor, by the way. If this attack doesn't work out for ShoWTimE, it's not fair to call it an all-in per se, but it's a timing attack, which means if it doesn't do a lot of damage or doesn't really slow down the Zerg, he'll be severely disadvantaged, especially since you have to go to that low ground to take your third. Anytime a map is like that, my analysis becomes a little bit closer to saying this is an all-in, because if it doesn't work out, you are dead, which is the definition of an all-in, basically. Showing up sees 3 gateways at the ramp. That in and of itself doesn't tip this off, but it begins to make you think there's something going on here. Aggressive.
And rightfully so. Good read from Namshar, getting those roaches out. 6 on the way here. He'll need more the way that came from if he wants to be able to get all of his bases defended. Like you said, that third base is a little bit tricky to defend, but the crease spread is connected at least for Namshar. Oh, ShoWTimE trying to get that third Nexus, but it looks like the Lings are going to deny that
slow it down. Here come the Adepts inside the main base, and it's just a few roaches here. Some drones are already going down. The Shade is the big nuisance, and of course, with this many gateways, he can still... I mean, let's be honest here. It's not 20 gateways, so you're not going to see like a massive warp-in of Adepts to really finish the game here, but every drone that dies is a small victory for our Protoss player.
And speaking of the drone kills, they are getting substantial. 10 of them going down here for ShoWTimE with this Adept push. And I got to say, that's pretty worth it for the German Protoss here.
It's not bad so far. His third base is going to go down. I mean, again, you see Immortals coming up behind this. This was never meant to be an all-in. There is going to be some at-home follow-up to this. Did it do enough damage? Let's take a look at the worker count here. They're close to even. In fact, just until I said this, a slight advantage for ShoWTimE, so that's not bad. But when I look up at that production tab, I see Lair and I see more infrastructure for the Zerg player. So I don't think, if he was going to follow that up with some kind of massive Ling, Ravager, Roach attack, I don't know. It gets a little bit scary there, but because he's going to fall back on this, then I look at it and say, well, it's 3-base Zerg versus soon-to-be 3-base Protoss.
Yeah.
The ball is in Namshar's court. If he just sits back and sits here on this, advantage ShoWTimE.
Well, Namshar had a little bit of supply block there that he just dealt with, making 5 Overlords at once now, and he's starting to get those units up. Normally when I see a bunch of Overlords in production for a Zerg, I'm thinking, oh, okay, there's going to be a bunch of units made here, but it was actually just a block that he really wanted to deal with immediately. He's getting those Roaches and Ravagers built here, so he does see a push here from ShoWTimE. Ravagers very, very effective against sentries, can also remove the force fields away. But, well, that's actually a ton of Roaches coming out of here for Namshar.
I love this push from ShoWTimE. If you look at it, it is not a real push. The DPS there is at toddler level, if you're going to measure it in terms of babies. It's a toddler. If there's several more Immortals, or if there's an Adept count of some kind of extreme, then you start to look at it and say, this is scary. Instead, following up that supply block, he just forced Namshar to make a bunch of Roaches, a bunch of Lings, and now we see the drones starting to come back, but it's out of whack. You can't really attack into that third base of the Protoss. Photon overcharge and defensive force fields, of course, very powerful. So he's just constantly manipulating Namshar and saying, you're going to be dancing to my tune. And I wonder if Namshar's going to be able to break himself from that spell, because right now, if you dance to ShoWTimE's tune, it's on your way out of the stage.
That's absolutely right. We actually had 8 Overlords just then being made by Namshar. So really going to get rid of this supply cap. He's going to be just about having ability to get maxed here with that many Overlords. But yeah, I mean, it looks like he wants to just make a giant Roach Ravager army and maybe hit with speed and +1. But he is also just dropping hatcheries and spreading that creep. He's just sitting back.
And that's exactly when the Adepts show up. They kill a few drones. So a lot of us would look at that and be like, oh, he's killing drones. That's all we can see from there. But what he's also seeing is a huge swell of army. He's seeing where the army's coming from alongside those shades, or excuse me, those hallucinations. He's seeing production coming out. ShoWTimE is getting the right intel. He's harassing effectively. And now he knows that he just has to do a very simple thing, and that's just defend. This attack is incoming. There's no hive. There's no follow-up tech. Yeah. We can see Hydra Den is going to be completed fairly soon, so I guess that's not entirely true, but it still is a mid-game giant push from Namshar.
Yeah, I mean, his army supply advantage is massive, and I feel like when you make a giant army like this as a Zerg, you got to use it. Having it sit back is just not money well spent.
All right.
He's got to do some damage, and he decides that now is the time. He's going to push here. There's a lot of Immortals for ShoWTimE, plenty of force fields. Doesn't quite have Storm just yet, +2 on the way.
Storm. He's going to push in here, though. He's not coming in from multiple angles. He needs to be really careful about that. Force Field's going down defensively. They do get destroyed, of course, by the Corrosive Bile. But he's just, because he's coming in from one angle, he's going to kill a couple of gateways. But unless ShoWTimE really goes forward, I don't see it. Oh, a massive Corrosive Bile there does kill a couple of sentries. He's going to push forward off of that. Photon Overcharges are coming in. Force Field's holding them in place. Immortals doing so much damage back there. A lot of the Roach front line has been depleted. ShoWTimE may be making the mistake of going too far forward. He is going to pull back here. And you know, it's still a massive supply advantage for Namshar. He's falling with more Roaches, but the Immortal count continues to grow. There's going to be Storms. I don't like that attack. By just coming in from one angle like that, it's a very simple defense for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, and he's actually pressing the issue here. He feels very confident against the Zerg army, going out of range of that Photon Overcharge for that Pylon. He's trying to squeeze units up a bit, eating a couple Biles, but doesn't even matter. He's just completely crushing this army. I mean, he has the tech that directly counters this force.
Yeah.
And Storm is done now, and he can get Archons as well, so it's just going to be an even easier defense for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, he's fighting into the teeth of a Protoss army, as you said, Maynard, perfectly designed to face this. A couple of the sentries do go down, so there won't be any more force fields. But who needs force fields when you have Immortals? They just get in the way of your gigantic shots hitting the faces of those Roaches. And now Storm will be coming to play here as well. And again, ShoWTimE continuing with that great vision. You see the Observer seeing that there's still more army being rallied over here. He shows up to the 4th base. There's not an impressive number of drones. That too tells ShoWTimE that this is just a one-dimensional Zerg at this point in time. And I don't see, like, if Namshar wasn't going to win the fight earlier, how is he going to win the fight when there's 2 Immortals being built at a time still?
Double Immortal plus to attack done now, so those Immortals hit even harder. And Namshar's upgrade's not super impressive. He's making a bunch of Lings now. Lings can help out, but I mean, I just feel like he's spending his lava to just try and get max because he's afraid of a big counterattack by ShoWTimE.
Yeah, a little bit of a peripheral storm there. Does end up getting one Ravager. That's a good center mass storm. And it's still just mostly Roaches, so I don't see what is the X factor here. You can even see a Stargate going down for ShoWTimE because he's saying, well, surely behind this, there has to be something more. Do you hope to crack me with just Roaches against literally double Robo Immortal production? That is somewhere out there, there's a Prima guide to StarCraft 2 that says don't do that at all. And it's the most spot-on analysis you'll ever get.
Yeah, the terrain here making things a little awkward for ShoWTimE, but again, his army is just so powerful. Namshar getting a big concave, but eating a giant storm there on the majority of his Roaches, which are those Ravagers meat shield.
Yeah.
Speaking of these Ravagers, they're pretty hurt as well. And Namshar's in a situation where he just kind of has to make this work. He's just holding the R button. He's getting Carapace +1, but will that even come into play? That's a question I'm asking here, as we see a bunch of Roaches just being built here from the production tab. The Nexus could go down, but Namshar being bullied away here. Doesn't commit.
And he's going to back away. ShoWTimE went around that kind of middle area, which is a little bit interesting. His army's a little bit split up. I mean, to be fair with Namshar, as you said, he's holding down the R button. This is how he's going to win or lose this game. And if ShoWTimE gets a little bit sloppy and moves out and takes a bad fight, it does spill over very quickly. I mean, that's the nice thing about Immortals. They're great, but they're not actually immortal. They will die, and if they do die, then your army usually is left holding, basically.
So for a couple of minutes, there's been some really great storms from ShoWTimE, but he has been losing some of those high gas units. Those sentries have just been dying. The High Templar have also been dying one at a time. Slowly but surely, Namshar is taking all right engagement, but this one, man. These Biles connecting amazingly with those Immortals. Storms coming down as well. Those storms are incredible.
My God.
Oh, boy. And Namshar's army does not have many hit points left.
Oh, he's landing some of these Corrosive Biles. A lot of those Immortals are weak. I mean, a weird move command there. If it weren't for those bailout storms, this would have actually been a nice fight for Namshar, but it ends up being, of course, ShoWTimE on equal basis with better economy, just finally saying, okay, I know what's going on here. And now we have Disruptors coming up behind this, which is, again, that next level of how do you deal with this, especially with Roaches. If you thought Immortals were good in this situation, 4 or 5 Disruptors completely transform this army again. ShoWTimE scaling with the game, whereas Namshar is just tunnel vision and locked into this very tough spot.
Yeah, he has to make this work, and he has been in that situation for a while. He just lost his hatchery to a Zealot harassment, which is, you know, horrible for the Zerg.
Well, it wasn't even a Zealot harassment. He lost it over the course of, like, just constant harassment the entire time.
Yeah.
Which is, again, just a nice nod to how good ShoWTimE is playing. I thought the 4th base that ShoWTimE took was a little bit greedy, but it ended up being exactly right, actually, as he was able to defend it. It's never been harassed. And here comes Namshar again on this pain train, this journey. But I really feel like the Disruptors are going to be like, hey, game's over, nerd. You got to get out because shots like that are going to keep happening forever.
Yeah, and way off creep, it is tough to, you kind of have to shoot and then pull back because anytime you overextend, you're going to eat a Purification Nova right to the face as a Zerg, and that's very, very tough to deal with. Oh God, he's getting very deep here. He's looking for those Disruptors. A big hit if he doesn't get rid of them. Actually gets a couple of the Ravagers at back. Not too bad. Split's okay for Namshar.
He's landing the Corrosive Biles, which is like the only thing kind of keeping him in this. These Warp-ins in the backfield. This Warp Prism, man, has just been such a nuisance. When you don't go Hydras, your only anti-air at this point in time is Ravagers, and they're not very good at killing something like a Warp Prism unless ShoWTimE stops, paying attention to it. Namshar's just going to hold on, but these Zealots are just destroying him in the backfield.
The harassment's really been the game winner, I feel, for ShoWTimE. And he's just been doing damage on the other side of the map while holding steadily as he can in the, at his third base, which is where all the action's been. Oh, Disruptors getting a little ahead of themselves there. Mistake from ShoWTimE as he loses one of them in the Zerg army. But these are mistakes, again, where in game 2, he can afford to make these mistakes, whereas Namshar really, if he loses another hatchery, that's kind of it for him. And he did, actually. He lost that fourth at the top again. He tried double expanding, so he does still have this base down here.
Yeah, I mean...
But it's, his worker supply is down on the Protoss. He doesn't have the income that's impressive at all.
Yeah.
And that huge army supply advantage he once had, it's gone now.
This is like a poor college student trying to have a legal battle with Bill Gates. It's just like, you can afford a really bad lawyer. Everything he does is just laughable right now. Bill Gates is literally riding in like a mecha robot to court. It's just not good. I mean, you look at all 3 of his bases, they're almost being mined out. He's got less than 50 workers, which is never a good thing for Zerg, but it's especially not a good thing when the Protoss is that.
Oh my God. And hatcheries just evaporate to these +2 Immortal shots. Carriers the transition here for ShoWTimE, and what is the answer to carriers in control?
Getting the hell out of the game.
Yeah, leaving their game, I feel, once these carriers at the field. Nice one by here from Namshar. He is going to get that 4th Nexus. Problem is, though, he still has this Protoss army to deal with. Those Biles are actually quite nice on the High Templar, but he doesn't finish them off.
Yeah, he just can't, and there's no fault behind this. You're going to see that supply get frozen right there. He's barely mining at all. Roaches did kill that 4th base. They're going to pull back from there. But what's kind of funny is I was making a joke about what's the answer for the carriers, but quite literally, there is not an answer. There's like 3 queens on the map.
There's Ravagers.
He cannot make Hydras. He's got Ravagers. So even if he goes off and picks every single Nexus right now, so like a Zerg Pult or something like that, it's just not going to, it doesn't matter because you have to answer for this, and then you have to have anti-air for the carriers.
That's right. The army needs to be stopped for Namshar to live in this game, and I don't know if he can. We've got the Ravagers going down, splash damage from those High Templars, sorting them out. 15 drones gone down, another base gone down.
Oh,
Namshar is literally on 2 hatcheries right now.
All
2
right.
hatcheries in a dream, and I think that might be a nightmare as ShoWTimE gets that second game in brutal fashion. Taking a 2-0 lead already on match point here for the German Protoss.
Yeah, and you'll have to excuse the pun, but he was in control that entire game.
Oh.
Like he's just, no, it's, I have to use the word. It's not even about me. It's not. It's just, he was absolutely in the driver's seat that entire game. Like every time they took a fight over the 3rd, I wanted to start talking about how ShoWTimE might have made a mistake by overextending, but the moment the words were about to escape my lips, he pulls back and defends. Yes, he took a few Corrosive Biles. So if there's some people out there that want to like, it was not perfect play, you're absolutely right. It wasn't perfect play, but on that stage with this much on the line, he executed extremely well. And Namshar, I want to give him more credit, but I feel like I can't. Like it was 10 minutes of him fighting an impossible fight. I don't want to paint it to you any other way. It would have had to have been ShoWTimE making a severe mistake for it to have ever worked that entire time.
Yeah, it's been a tough slog for Namshar. We're going to go see the boys at the desk quickly before we get in game 3. Kolaris, take it away.
Thank you very much, fellas. Indeed, game number 3 in just a little bit's time. But watching ShoWTimE play is nothing short of marvelous. When we see his opponent trying to solve one solution, barely, then all of a sudden there's Storm, and then there's Disruptors, and then there's the potential for them to just transition onto carriers and Mothership cards. It's brutal for him to deal with.
It almost seems unfair watching Protoss Zerg like this. There's actually nothing you can do as a Zerg, but then whenever you do play Protoss at home, you're like, oh my god, the Zerg has always so much. Because everything that ShoWTimE does, it hits at the right time, and he's able to force like a low economy game out of Namshar. Then every attack that Namshar makes is suddenly so much more important, and the moment he doesn't win, then it's just a matter of time before there is that ultimate ground Protoss army. And well, without Brood Lords or maybe Ultras, but even Ultras against like 10 Immortals, probably not the best thing. It's basically Brood Lords or a mass Muta switch. If you don't have money for that, well, it's pretty much over.
Our casters were talking about it. Like, if you try really hard, you will pick out like and find a few mistakes here and there. But other than that, like ShoWTimE is as close to like a perfect human that you will come across. And his game plan going into the series as well, I think he's really good. Like, talking to him earlier, he was telling me like Namshar is one of those Zergs that you really can't let reach 80 drones too easily. Like, you need to, get in his face, try and annoy him. And he did that very well, I think, in both games. Sent forward some good aggression that prevented him to get to that position. I got an update on one of the games there that I was covering. Special was able to have a sick comeback against ISNU and won 3-2 after being down 0-2, and those games were insane.
Yeah.
So make sure you check them out, guys. If you haven't checked them out later, they were shown on Base Rate TV. The next match here on the laptop is going to be Probe against Champ, so I'm going to be keeping you guys posted on that, and it's going to be another good one shown on Base Rate TV.
Yeah, excited to see who goes through on that in terms of two of our underdogs at least.
Two
for the
Mexicans in top 8. That would be pretty sick.
That would be pretty crazy. That would.
Australian in top 8 is pretty sick as well.
Yeah.
Ever since the glory days of Pig,
Well,
we haven't
whoever
seen
wins
that
is going to
anymore.
be sick, apparently.
No, it's a fun matchup because that's not a matchup that anybody predicted in the
No.
round of 16. So I'm looking forward to see the little snoot from down under go up against Champ.
So what do you think in terms of this match for Namshar? What can you change up here against ShoWTimE? It's a very difficult question to even pose, never mind answer, because of the strength of ShoWTimE right now.
I don't know. He just has to be cleaner in the beginning. He has to make units at the right time, and he either has to decide if this is, once he starts making units, if that's the only units he's gonna make and just run across the map and win. But it seems like making a few roaches just a little too late, taking a lot of damage, and then going back to droning, and then still making a roach attack, that's just not gonna work, because ShoWTimE will always be able to find that opening early on. So maybe it's better to roll the dice and just like say, like, you know what, at 41 drones I stop, and I'll make nothing but roaches, and maybe you can overrun the Protoss.
I mean, we were saying it before, Todd, but it feels like Ravagers don't have much of an impact against someone like ShoWTimE, who just dodges out of everything and makes it look effortless.
Yeah, his micro is just insane, and for Namshar to win, I feel like something's going to have to go right at some point, and then from there he's going to have to snowball out of control, do all the right things, and then somehow take a win against this superhuman that is ShoWTimE.
Some very early cheeses, maybe. Even that against ShoWTimE, again, the unstoppable force.
That's also not something that Namshar is very comfortable with, I think.
Okay.
I mean, he's not exactly a Swedish version of Bly. Like, he loves his timing attacks, he loves massing roaches. I just think in general there are very few, but there is absolutely a couple Protosses out there that are just very comfortable in playing against roach openings with adapts. And I think like whenever you play against Ling Bane, it's always a little bit scarier because one bad shade and everything can get blown up. Against roaches, it's always a little slower, it's more tactical, and the moment you give ShoWTimE time to find the right place, find the right opening, he pretty much always gets it.
I think Namshar's best plan might be to just try and get to his ideal drone count and do it as close to perfect as he can. Scout exactly what ShoWTimE's going for, whether it's time these oracles and adepts that are going to come his way, make the minimal amount of units that you need to defend them as close to perfect as he can. And if he gets on the 70 to 80 drones quickly, I do think that Namshar has a real chance of winning a map here and somehow starting some sort of comeback.
Yeah, we've just saw it before, obviously, with Special getting his comeback. So let's see if it can happen in this series. Thank you very much, gents. We're going to head to game number 3 now, as ShoWTimE is on a roll.
A roll indeed, a rolling boulder of German Protoss death, rolling towards Namshar. Can it be stopped is the big question here.
You can never stop the balls, Maynard. You can never stop the balls.
That's right. Speaking of, Namshar will need to have a large pair of them to be able to take out this guy on stage.
Oh my God.
One map away from elimination. Tough spot to be in.
Yeah, I mean, he knew it. When he got ShoWTimE, he knew that ShoWTimE is on that like list of 1 or 2 players right now that is probably the absolute best non-Koreans. And it's not even the same saying non-Korean as it used to be, where it was like, yeah, by non-Korean we mean that the Koreans are infinitely better. It's not like that anymore. At last BlizzCon, we saw that there are some guys, especially at various different stages of that tournament, that can compete with them, and ShoWTimE is actually one of those players, winning a couple matches and giving good fights elsewhere. But we're gonna head into game 3 here, and it's an uphill battle for Namshar, I feel.
That's right, in the top right, top left here, I should say, on Cactus Valley, on match point. This is ShoWTimE. And in the bottom left, this is Namshar. Hopefully he's used the break to reset his mindset a little bit, just forget the first 2 games and go into this like it's a fresh new series, because you really got to shut out the negatives and just think about, hey, I can do this, I've beaten him before, I just have to do it again, and try and shut out the atmosphere around you. It's easier said than done, but yeah, it's something you certainly need to do at this level of play. He is, as I said at the start, 1 map from elimination from this tournament.
No, he's, you know, I'm going to take my analysis of game 2 and flip it on its head. Now is the time where you do something different, by the way. I was saying in game 2, I'm like, I like that he's doing what he's good at. It seems to be, you know, that's the best answer. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you hit that other brick wall where it's like, all right, look, if I try to go towards a mid-game macro game and I just accept his oracles, I accept his adepts, I don't do anything about the warp prism, and I try to win Roach Ravager against double Robo Immortal, it's probably not going to work out. I mean, a lesser player, less than ShoWTimE, maybe, but against ShoWTimE, no. So I hope for something like a lot of Ling stuff here, maybe a Proxy Spire. Get spicy. What do you have to lose? You're down 0-2. What you have been doing is absolutely not working. You're going to want to mix it up.
So we actually have a Zealot first here for ShoWTimE, moving across the map. And this is interesting with that probe as well. This could be a very early aggression from the German Protoss.
I mean, it is.
It is. Like, it's literally happening right now.
Yeah, it's a bit strange, but it's nice.
What is this?
Probably not going to do much. It would take Namshar messing up pretty bad here for it to do anything at all. So a little bit of German experimentation, I suppose. He's going to kill a Zergling for the Zealot.
Yeah, well, I mean, good start for Namshar, I got to say. This is ShoWTimE giving him a Zealot there at the start. Still rallying a Adept over, and Adept obviously a little bit more scary. And a pretty quick Twilight Council here from ShoWTimE.
Yeah. That's where I'm starting to begin to understand a little bit. I mean, the Zealot and this Adept here occupying the attention of Namshar, I guess. Maybe Namshar doesn't have to mix things up. He'll just let ShoWTimE get over cocky and do some weird stuff. I mean, I'm not trying to say he's throwing the game. It's just a Zealot or two. It's really not that big of a deal, but we are seeing ShoWTimE go a bit off script, which means, you know, it's getting a little bit interesting.
Well, I mean, he's in a comfortable spot where, you know, he can lose the next 2 maps if that does happen. I'm sure he doesn't want to. I'm sure he wants a 3-0 win like most people would. But he can afford to do something a little bit different here. Like, try something that he's maybe not the most solid at and just see if it works against Namshar for a possible quick win. There's that Dark Shrine going down here, so yep, look like ye old Archon drop, but it could, you know, I mean, you do start with Dark Templar pressure, and Namshar hasn't seen this just yet.
No, he has that Overlord in a really nice spot, seeing kind of the front. He sees no Chrono Boost on the Cybernetics core, nothing more coming off the gateway, so it's not inherently telling him one thing or the other just yet. And if you look at that mini-map, we don't see another Overlord actually in position to scout the main. Now, this build is dominant in the meta, but even in this tournament alone, we've seen that it has not been the go-to build. But there it is. And you were talking about this last game, Maynard. There's just a standard 4-minute-ish Spore Crawler timing. And that's purely because if it's not Dark Templar or it's Oracle, like 95% of the games are one or the other, and you want those things.
That's right. There's 2 common openings that Spores help you against in PvZ, and it's definitely worth the investment. It's not like you lose too much there. Spore is the cheapest static defense as well. Get a Roach Warren again from Namshar, preferring this tech for early game defense rather than the Baneling Nest. Sees that Prism with the Overlord, and that's going to ring some alarm bells for Namshar here. He's making some more units, getting Zerglings as well, and the Evo Chamber with the Lair to follow up.
And he does see that there's a probe and some kind of presence of an Adept over there trying to open up the third base. More Prism's going to come out here, and that third base means, by the way, there's not a huge gateway production behind it, and that is true. A couple of Dark Templar, they're going to go forward. It's just a Queen and a Roach, so not the highest DPS. In fact, the Queen's going to go down, opting not to go after the drones, but in doing so, wow, nice positioning on that Adept, by the way.
Yeah, really nice spot, and with the pylon finishing, the Overcharge is going to bully those Zerglings back, and the Adept even lives. And I mean, I was going to say that Dark Templar, even if they're detected, they are very high DPS units. They can absolutely take fights, as squishy as they can be. It looks like ShoWTimE actually saved those Dark Templar, got them ready for the Archon. There it is. Just a single Archon. He's going to warp in a couple more DTs for that second one and begin the harassment.
And again, I hate to sound this dire as the commentator's supposed to make this sound more exciting, but like, we're looking at a Zerg that does not have a lair, I believe. He's got nothing beyond this,
I think he made a lair, but you're right, though. There is not a phase 2 at the moment.
No, well, even then, it's just those are more, the Archons, excuse me, and there is a lair, you're right. They're facing Roaches and Lings, so they're going to be doing a lot of damage. And there's just more Roaches coming out from Namshar, because I think he's worried about that Warp Prism, but what's the answer for these Archons?
Well, at the moment, it's a queen. A second queen coming down here, and they are touching up this Warp Prism, nearly getting rid of their shields. The Roach is coming back to defend, but again, this Warp Prism has pickup range. The Archons are safer now. Oh, it's getting a little bit low now, though.
All right,
Showtime
credit
has
where
to be
credit's
careful.
due. Nice job from Namshar, though. The Queen's targeting that Warp Prism, like you were saying. Maynard did a good job of not killing anything, but making it not possible for them to stay around and harass. So very well done there. And good attention to detail over there at the third. We just see a little bit of engagement. Ooh, an Archon dies floppily.
Yeah, a little sloppy there from
All
ShoWTimE.
right, Namshar, I see
okay.
you. None does not pick up these sentries, but forcing out the force fields for the cost of a few lings, that too is a nice thing. Sees the Immortals coming out. So where are the bells? Okay, so we're seeing a Hydra Den go down. It seems like Namshar still wants to stick with that ground-based army, which is going to be tough, but this is the best start so far for Namshar, we will say for sure.
This is the strongest early game he's had so far in the series, which, you know, it's going to be great for Namshar fans. I'm sure there's a bunch of you guys watching at home and out there in the crowd as well. The Charge Lot Archon follow-up going to be here for ShoWTimE. We see Neeb use this to great effect.
No fourth base, though, man.
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
right.
now going down, which is quite late.
And he's put so many resources into this ground army that he really can't afford the fourth. He's just getting it now, but it's going to be a while before that comes into effect. He's got so many resources in this army, it almost means like you have to go across the map and do something, but with this kind of army with just straight up roaches against a Protoss that's so good at defending like ShoWTimE, I don't see it doing much. It's just...
Interesting, though, development here. We see that there is, of course, no Storm queued up. That's because there's no gas taken at the third base, and Namshar's on top of that, so I wonder if he does know this attack's coming. He's starting to muscle up with those roaches. His upgrades are syncing up nicely. The Baneling Nest about to finish. It looks like ShoWTimE is going to continue to play that kind of offbeat style, doing something different each game. But he's going to be fighting into the teeth of a Namshar that you just got done talking about, very accurately so, has been investing in army. If he was making a lot of drones right now, that'd be one thing, but here we go.
Yeah, with this ton of army, I mean, he's not across the map doing damage, but he does have plenty to defend, and he bullies back that Protoss army, which even with the Immortals, he can take the fight.
And there it is. The gas is behind this. That is the very subtle, yet very Protoss way of saying, I surrender. Like, he's not going to commit to that fight when he takes the gases behind it. But to be fair, really smart decision from ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE didn't lose a fight, then make that decision like so many Protoss before him. He saw the army of Namshar and said, okay, well played, you were prepared for this, so instead of futilely fighting into that and giving you the game, I'm gonna back up. So ShoWTimE's on the back foot, but even in the back foot, he's making the right choice.
And this choice pretty nice from ShoWTimE. Creep not connected at this fourth base yet. He's transferred some drones and a queen down here. They just arrived, and the Roaches are going to be late to the party. That hatchery is going down.
And even might get most of these Zealots out of here as they do run off that creep, like you were saying. I mean, how big has it been, guys, for these Warp Prisms to stay alive and continue to just fuel these harasses? And all of a sudden, Namshar, who I was pretty sure was ahead, is all of a sudden again on 3 bases. Again, on a very supply-dense army. It's a lot of Roaches, a lot of Hydras, a lot of Ravagers. And the upgrades are not, like, it's still nice for Namshar. This is definitely the best chance he's had in the 3 games so far. But with this Warp Prism continuing to do exactly this, I don't know for how much longer we can say that.
Yeah, there's actually no, I don't even know if this is enough Roaches against this many charge lots. They're just prioritizing this hatchery. The Roach reinforcement will clean this up, but the hatchery's going to be cancelled again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the first time as a kill, this is a cancel here from these Zealots. And this Warp Prism, just like on Yuko Precinct, being a real pain in the side of Namshar. And with just Roaches and Ravagers, it's so hard to deal with.
I'll tell you, man. I mean, and we've seen it before. Oh, interesting. Okay, massive drop, I guess. Try something. Yeah, there's you trying something different.
Load it with
make us fire or something, though. You know, we've seen Scarlet talk about this in the past, but like that's why some Zergs will just drop a Spire, make 5 mutas so that this Warp Prism cannot exist, because look what happens when you don't have the ability to deal with it.
So actually, it kind of feels like Namshar is going to go for a giant Doom Drop with Hydralisks into the main of ShoWTimE. To just try and reset his tech, do critical damage, hit him in the heart, and then pull back and then deal with what's left for ShoWTimE when the ashes settle. And there's that drop from Namshar, the Zerg Doom Drop. Oh, Prism might go down now. He's on creep.
Yeah. Oh, if it hangs right there, Namshar sees it.
Yeah, looks like it's going to go down.
He will get rid of it. And I like this attack on the right side with the Roaches. Zealot Warpin, not great because they can't deal with this very well. Opens up the space. Here comes the army, even pulls back the Roaches. Great move from Namshar. He's going to drop in the main, and he's going to go for the top of the ramp so that he can fight more effectively up there.
This is a brilliant move here from Namshar, pulling ShoWTimE's attention into that 4th base. Meanwhile, he is in the main, doing damage to the production and tech of ShoWTimE. A warp in here in the main mineral line. But will it be enough to deal with the Zerg army? There's even a few cluster of Zerg down here.
He's going full Terran. He's going full Terran. He's everywhere.
Terran.
He's on the right side of those roaches. He might actually just get out of here. I think that is the best call because it's a bunch of Hydras and Ravagers, not the most tanky units. But he cancels the 4th base. He's fighting on the right side.
Main Nexus goes down completely here. It's a nice move from Namshar. I mean, he didn't hit those critical tech buildings, but killing that Nexus is a nice little blow to the German Protoss.
Namshar says, you know what, that harass for you has been working pretty good. Why don't I try a little bit on for size? Goes for that big drop. He's going to come back up. Why don't I give it a little bit of space because the army's still there.
Yeah.
Might be a hot pickup. Get out. The LZ's hot. Get out of here. No, don't stay.
So a lot of Protoss. Plenty of tangos here. Oh, actually, nice bile connection. Storm's going down on these Overlords. Don't lose those Overlords.
You don't fly in Storm.
Oh my God, he actually loses quite a few units there. But the Overlord's going down. Some of them do live for Namshar, but his army supply took a big hit as he lost a lot of those loaded up Overlords.
Yep, last time we saw a flight that hard, it was a United flight not too long ago. This one actually took off, though, so it's a bit different.
Oh my God, topical.
It did get out of there. And the only survivors are those Ravagers and a couple of Hydras. They're going to get back on a creep. But look at the situation. So Namshar's able to get that 4th base. He's saturated. ShoWTimE's on his back foot. There is that Spire. Now, the Spire all of a sudden has the potential to be a little bit hidden because ShoWTimE's not afforded the ability to harass constantly because he's been defending. As I say that, though, here comes ShoWTimE again.
And also Namshar on the other side of the map, coming in and catching some Archons getting morphed here. This could be a nice pickoff for Namshar. 2 of them going down. Oh, a 3rd as well.
Well, almost. Actually, the Warp Prism from a million miles away was able to pick them up, but I do like the burrow upgrade here.
Yeah, that's
and with that burrow upgrade spotted, ShoWTimE's immediately like, uh-oh, one cannon might not do it. Drops that. But what's the plan for Namshar? We're not seeing a 5th base. Yes, the Spire's nice. Did he get up to Hive? Because maybe... Nope.
No, but he did get a Lurker Den, and he is making 12 Lurkers now. I mean, when you make 12 Lurkers, you generally, we can see his gas count here. It's not like he's going to be able to make too many Mutalisks or anything like that, so the Spire Tech probably won't come into play just yet. He thinks that Lurkers are the better choice, and I kind of agree with him. I think that they're going to be pretty good against this Protoss ground army. ShoWTimE can recover and get, deal with a Mutaswitch, but his anti-air is not super great.
Well, Namshar is going to get that +1 air attack, so maybe that's a switch later, but and there is the 5th base going down. I'd even like to see a 6th base. The Warp Prism has been cleaned up, if I'm not mistaken, so as long as you continue to maintain control of the middle of the map,
there's an extra one.
Another Warp Prism shows up. Then you know what's really nice, too, is to drop even just a single Lurker or 2 at those expansions, and then that harass becomes so much less effective.
God, that's
very rarely is there an observer there, too.
That's a ton of Lurkers here from Namshar, even if they get detected. Getting in there and dealing with those Lurkers, that count of Lurkers, is incredibly difficult for the Protoss. And he's in range of this Nexus, in range of the mineral line, and ShoWTimE's just going to leave. Yeah. That's too much Zerg.
Well, he can't fight into that. I mean, he's like just on the fringe wanting to, but again, it's that Protoss outside the Christmas window, just looking in. He's actually going to go into this, though. It's a giant concave of Lurker. He gets a lot of the Hydras. They're not very tanky. Finds some Banelings being morphed there, but even there's some random Lurkers as well. And it's just not everywhere ShoWTimE shows up to fight, it's a rough spot for him. Now, keep in mind, though, if you do get on top of these Lurkers and they die, they have a little bit of the immortal effect. Like, once you lose those Lurkers, the ability to replace that DPS is severely depleted.
So we have some Spine Crawlers here, but that is a ton of charge lots, and they're being split up from ShoWTimE. Nice move from him. He's going to hit this hatchery on the very far right, the 5th hatchery, the 4th getting touched up by these charge lots. The roach reinforcement will deal with them. So he only loses 4 drones. That's not too bad, but he is going to lose his hatchery by the looks of things. It's getting quite low. Oh, no, actually lifting up.
Yeah, it'll continue to be annoying, but again, we're starting to see the evolution of Namshar. He had a Spine Crawler there. He had some roaches in the vicinity. So even those like little things was the difference between losing that hatch and keeping it, which is nice to see from Namshar, because while this has been a nice resurgence from Namshar, he's not infinitely rich. In one bad fight and he loses the game. And if you look at the supply, he's actually down in supply even.
And we got some Purification Novas here from the Disruptors for ShoWTimE, hitting those Spine Crawlers and nearly dead, but not quite. Actually unpowered one of those robotics facilities there. But real story is ShoWTimE's trying to get down this prism. The prism does go down, and that's one less thing that Namshar has to worry about. I mean, these DTs are annoying because they're going to just keep following these units back, but Spore Crawler will be able to turn and fight eventually.
Yeah, you got to be able to see him. Can't fight something you can't see, said the memer. You know, but he's going to fight out on the creep here. No storms just yet. The Lurkers cannot clump up too much. There's the Purification Novas, by the way. Disruptors used with Templar, not the easiest thing. I know that watching these games we're spoiled. We look at someone like ShoWTimE and he makes it look easy, but this is a very complicated army.
Yeah, it is tough to control. Multiple hotkeys required. Oh, these are very high gas, expensive units that are being split up from the army here.
What?
Yeah,
What?
that's
what?
a donation to the Feed Namshar Foundation. Very nice. And Namshar pressing the issue here with these lurkers, and they're split up a little bit because of, obviously, you know, there's drop the shots, something he has to worry about there. The anti-lurker capability here of ShoWTimE. And
Oh
a
my
huge
God.
muta switch. 17 mutalists on the way with +1 already, +2 on the way. And I think this muta switch actually may kill ShoWTimE.
Well, we'll have to see. There are some Archons in there and Storm. And the kind of weird thing is Namshar's done such a good job of keeping ShoWTimE's economy kind of contained, but there's not much for the Mutas to do except to fight or maybe go up into the main where Tempests are about to pop out. So Tempest, not the best answer. You know what, I'm going to stop myself, though, because while that's all nice and good, this is basically the last mining base. It's about to die. And ShoWTimE is relocating to the other third base that he took earlier, but that one's not a great base either, as it's depleted.
And here come the mutalists. ShoWTimE hasn't seen them yet, and this is going to actually be tough for him to deal with at all. They're heading straight into the main. These lurkers still shooting. Nice disruptor shot there, getting 3 of the lurkers, but still more where that came from. And Nanshar's in the main.
He's in the main, going after the Stargate, actually. He's going to chase after this Tempest. It will die very quickly. Like I said, Tempest not a good answer for Mutalists. The only thing they have really going for is the range, but look at this. You're down to 1 mining base. ShoWTimE.
Look at the little
47 probes. Turn your faces away. No.
Children, look away.
They are fine. He lost 0.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Storms all over the mutalists here. They're getting a little bit low. But that's just too much still from the Zerg. GG.
Okay.
Namshar getting a map of this series.
By the way,
a comeback.
Maynard, that was our most tasteless moment of our lives. Look away from the probes as absolutely 0 died somehow. We didn't see the Immortals. I blame the Observer, to be honest. I actually blame everyone but ourselves.
It is actually everyone's fault but us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we were being fed a lie, to be honest.
It's amazing how accurate we were despite all those lies. But Namshar is able to claw his way back into that one. The Muta switch was interesting. In and of itself, it's not like he didn't have any answer for the Mutas. What I liked about the Mutas is they represented another tax on an income that ShoWTimE did not have. It's like, can you make Phoenix? No, you can't afford them. Can you make Archons? Sure, but that's less Storms that I have to deal with the Lurkers. Meanwhile, Namshar behind that is on 2 healthy bases and is able to resupply and redo the war effort, whereas ShoWTimE, every choice he made is kind of a final one because he doesn't have the money to follow that up with something else. So the Mutas themselves were more of a like, hey, I can outspend you, you're gone.
Pretty much. And that's sealed the deal there in Cactus Valley. And Namshar getting a map of the series, not going to go out 3-0, may not go out at all.
Yeah.
Does this instill confidence in them? Does he all of a sudden pull his head in and realize, I can do this? I've been loving the shots here from the production crew here at WCS Austin, seeing Namshar and his disposition change after that wonderful game on Cactus Valley for him. He's just, you know, he still looks a little nervous. He's taking some deep, sharp breaths, but he's starting to nod to himself. He's like, yeah, you know, I'm feeling good. That was more the game I wanted to play. And that's hopefully giving him the confidence to possibly take this to 5 games. A bunch of the crowd getting down to some music that I don't think exists, but...
Yeah, well, it's a party. You know, it's just anywhere there's StarCraft, there's a party. That guy's posture's terrible, by the way. You need to sit up, young man.
Yeah, you're going to have a sore spine if you're going to end up looking like the top part of a question mark if you keep that up, my friend.
Stay in school, for Pete's sakes. You know? Austin, Texas, you guys got great barbecue, terrible weather.
It's actually a great college community around here.
Well, I mean, great and college typically don't go hand in hand, but I can see what you're getting at. It's a good party scene here. But Namshar's going to rehydrate. That last game was something we needed to see more of, though, from him. It did end up still being Roach, you know, Roach, Lurker, Ravager, that kind of stuff, which I think is the harder path, by the way, but that seems to be his bread and butter. But he was doing stuff like that big drop. The drop in and of its own was not super amazing. It didn't kill much, but it was a positional drop. It allowed for the Roaches on the right side to do damage. He dropped off a few Hydras. They canceled the fourth. Like, stuff like that, a little bit more offbeat, is how you beat a ShoWTimE. If you just go toe-to-toe with him and say, you know what, you tell me where we're fighting and we'll be there, you're probably not going to win.
Well, let's see how it unfolds here in Belgian Vestige. In the top left here, still on match point, this is ShoWTimE.
You had my curiosity, Namshar. Now you have my attention.
And in the bottom right, getting his attention on Cactus Valley, this is Namshar. I was afraid of this. For you guys that don't know at home backstage, Jeff actually makes me laugh till I cry, and I was afraid of this cast. I had a feeling it would happen.
I'm keeping it serious, though, you know?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
One United joke,
and then that's it.
That's it.
Don't wanna get dragged off.
You're allowed one topical joke.
That's right.
That's,
Gotta keep up with the news if you want to truly appreciate my humor. In fact, everyone that doesn't find me funny, it's probably that they just didn't get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, send all your feedback to @Rotterdam08 on Twitter.
Yes.
He is the social media manager here at
He does
WCS
so much.
Austin.
He's in charge of the stage. He's been helping out with production. Rotterdam is... We're so lucky to have a commentator like him that recognizes when his time is not up. You know, like he's...
Yeah.
So many other commentators would have gone off and done something else, but Kevin just sticks around. Like, it's just incredible.
It's just lingering.
Yeah.
Like a good smell.
I mean, it's a smell, you know, like
A smell, yeah.
good or bad, it's not for us to judge, but
It's pretty subjective.
It's a part of
Most
the
smells
sweatshirt
are.
at this point in time. Exactly.
And he works so hard off camera, but looks so good on camera. It's ability I wish I had as well.
Well, he looked better years ago, though. It's definitely catching up with him.
Well, age gets the better of a soul.
It does. And now this probe is going to look over here to do what a probe does best, and that's build pylons to just inject fear into the Zerg, or at least draw circles. Huck of old would have drawn a heart here. We're going to go with the house.
Yeah.
There we go.
Pentagon there. We do have the third going down. So we have actually seen ShoWTimE do mana pylon blocks on the third hatchery location, but this time opting not to.
Yeah.
Rather save the probe.
And now, you know what I want to see? I want to see how ShoWTimE responds to this, because in all three of the previous games, he did similar things, but got there in a very different way. And again, a lot of the analysis, and it's not just us dumb commentators, it's the players saying this, he's predictable. So a little bit of that is him coming to a tournament and saying, okay, if I'm predictable, why don't I mix it up a little bit with builds that I've been practicing and show people that I can do different things. But at the same time, to his core, ShoWTimE is I will defend against your attacks, harass you with a Warp Prism or something of that nature, and let you kind of hang yourself with it. He's going to go with a double pylon here. And yeah, so this is that follow-up. It's the Mothership Core moving out quite quickly.
Yeah, and not enough lings from Namshar to be able to DPS these down before they finish.
No,
In fact,
not at all.
these pylons are absolutely going to go up. The overcharges will absolutely go off.
I'll be curious, though. Yeah, it's going to be like 2, maybe 3 overcharges. The Adept obviously doesn't add much here, except it makes it harder for the Lings to clean this up. I feel like if you're Namshar, the worst thing you could do is dive in on any Photon overcharge. I guess the second one would kill this hatch, so he's going to have to eventually get in there.
I think Namshar may be able to hold here. There's not too much left on the Mothership Core, and the Queen really
What's the
helping out here.
energy?
Nice position here with the Adept, though, and that second overcharge making things
Yeah.
difficult for the Lynx.
I wonder, though. He's going to have to come in and tank this every once in a while, otherwise it will actually kill the hatch, and the hatch is being focused right now. You got to go after that pylon. I think it's just going to miss. Just going to miss. And the Mothership Core, I mean, that is the saddest sight. It's like, I'd love to help, but David Kim gave me a wand. It's like a little magical wand that says -4 health, -4 health, but it's not going to do enough. So it was cute, it was nice, it forced out some Lings. The hatchery's obviously low in health, so it's going to be a point of concern as the game goes on. But not the end of the world.
Big circling counterattack here. I mean, ShoWTimE is locked down tight, but I guess with 2 Adepts in the wall here, it should be okay, yeah.
He's fine. Second Adept comes out, moving over the probe, and even the Oracle, of course, coming out. So what's nice about this for Namshar, of course, is losing a few Lings. Not the end of the world. Spots the Oracle. What if the Oracle focuses the hatchery?
That is actually a really good question.
What if does it have it?
2 queens and a spore, though.
Nah. 1 queen, maybe? Is he thinking about it, though? Are ShoWTimE and I mind-linked? I'm going to say yes. I think he was thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty swag to take a hatchery out with an Oracle at this stage of the game.
He was thinking about that and Schnitzel. I'm going to take it to the next level. He was actually also thinking about Schnitzel.
Schnitzel, sauerkraut, and beer.
Yeah. Well, not the beer. That's irresponsible.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a post-event thing.
Yeah, maybe. But that would get in the way of his next tournament that he's training for.
Yeah.
And you know what, from Namshar, exactly the same thing. The Roach Warren pre-lair, he likes that because the Warp Prism harass can get cumbersome. And if you just have Lings have this horrible thing where if, like they get one bad surround against a bunch of Resonating Glaive Adepts, that's it. I mean, disengaging from that costs you all your lives. Fighting it costs you all your lives. Whereas with Roaches, they tank better. The problem is they're just more supply dense and resource heavy, so a bunch of slow Roaches defending against Adepts can still be bad.
So it kind of looked like, you know, ShoWTimE wanted to go for, I mean, he got a Void Ray instead, but he was looking for Overlords. But I think a big attack at this third base with the Adept and an Oracle could actually go very well for ShoWTimE.
This is it, guys. This game number 4 is about to be decided off the backs of, oh my God, did he just make drones?
Yeah, 7 drones being made here for Namshar.
Never mind. I mean, I don't know. He still could do it where he's just going to make infinity roaches after that, but he's not making a lair. This time I am correct on that. There's no evolution chamber. Adepts are moving out, which in a strange way could be nice. Okay, well, this is why the roaches are here. They're here to respond to this.
Is it enough roaches, though? That's a lot of adepts. They have resonating glaives, shading into the natural. I mean, they could cancel this shade and still press the issue here. I feel this third hatchery's in a lot of trouble. Decides to finish the shade.
Away.
Okay.
And you were not wrong, by the way. Had he just stayed there and fought, he would have killed the roaches and maybe the hatch itself as well. Void Ray trying to solo a queen, that's not going to work. And all these roaches are going to clean up the adepts. Actually, that shade in the main is going to be the most painful of all of them because they're just targeting drones. So that it was 4 drones down, and then 2 adepts that survived the fight made it 9 drones down. Just the 2. That's what happens when they're able to expose a mineral line.
I mean, Namshar is replenishing those drones, and then some getting.
Oh, he's way up in supply.
Yeah,
look at Todd.
I mean, he's doing a great job.
We should say not even look at the supply. It's just like look at the Todd.
Yeah, just look at what Todd's doing right now.
Yeah, we've got our Tosis pylons, and we could just have Todd supply.
I heard they were in control pylons, but
he keeps trying to bark up that tree, but it's, you know.
I mean, I actually only hear on his stream out of his mouth, so you're absolutely right.
Yeah, he tries. But all of a sudden, Namshar's taking a 4th base. Only just now is ShoWTimE saturating his 3rd. And all of a sudden, ShoWTimE has that problem we were talking about for Namshar, where it's like, okay, what do you follow this up with? There's no, you know, he's adding a Warp Prism for that classic harass we've been seeing. He's adding Immortals, but his army doesn't have huge TPS. He went for a big Adept attack. It did not really do that much. And Namshar did not respond improperly. He didn't follow that up with an attack that could have been defended or something. He just made more drones, like you said, Maynard, and all of a sudden, he's in a great spot.
Yeah. I'm actually still amazed that ShoWTimE didn't just cancel the shade and engage at this 3rd hatchery. I swear he could have gotten it, but...
Part of that, too, though, you have to remember is the shade vision. So it looks weird to us because we're like, how can he not see that this is the better choice? But shades are actually blind when they're, when you know,
the vision range is very small now. Huge bound of tech getting dropped here. Double Hydralisk Den?
Yeah, you can make one into a Lurker Den and the other one can upgrade, which is nice. We saw, I mean, those Lurkers were really effective last game, right?
Yeah. Double Hydras, double the fun. And we got a Stasis Ward getting down here at the 3rd hatchery. No pullback from Namshar, so this is going to be a big catch. Bunch of those drones getting locked down there.
Freezes them in place. A little sample of the movie Passengers, equally as bad for the Zerg player as that movie was for all of us.
Yeah, for our brains, eyes, and spirit. Yeah. And there we go, you're absolutely right. Upgrade for Muscular Augments and Lurker Den made immediately here for Namshar.
But so then scouted immediately too. That's
true.
Isn't it nice to live the life of ShoWTimE? Like when I scout, I'm like, all right, he's still making Hydras, and then they run me over with Hydras. But when they scout, it's like really critical moments, and tech is being revealed, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
StarCraft's such a beautiful game for some people. For me, it's like a fight against myself and a sweaty, slobbery mess of a man. Just a gross event. You know?
That's how I like to fight. We're good.
Okay, mega pullback this time.
Yeah.
Who's the sacrificial drone? Jerry! He's like, all right. But I mean, that's nothing.
The team.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. And Namshar's been pretty on top of it. It's just been, unfortunately, like 1 second off on top of it. But 4 bases to the 3, and ShoWTimE is going to go for that 4th base, excuse me. But his army's just not as impressive right now. Just now getting charge.
And there's a ton of Hydras being made for Namshar as well, by the way. Like, he actually has an incredibly scary army.
I think we're going to go to game 5, and I like it. I think Namshar has adjusted fairly well. He's still staying with the same composition, but he's just executing a little bit better, and he is breaking the mold a little bit. In this game, it was the double Hydra Den to get out those faster Lurkers with the better upgrades on the Hydra, so a little bit different. He's afforded that because he played so well earlier on. And that being said, though, ShoWTimE, his army doesn't look impressive, but it's still a 164 supply Protoss army. It's pretty big. It's 96 army, but
it's
still.
high tech. I believe he has Storm as well, so there's several Storms there on those High Templar.
We better hope he has.
Yeah, I mean, like, he doesn't have Storm.
Those are Templar walking back, and the feedback's not going to be super amazing.
He might get an Overseer.
Oh, this is spotted. Oh, was it though? Yeah, tough spot.
Yeah, high ground advantage here for the Zerg. Bunch of Zealots being run by here. Of course, run-bys with Zealots been pretty great for ShoWTimE historically in this series. The Namshar with lots of units to be able to deal with it this time.
Control. Shade does get into that main base. It's going to kill some drones, but this is the least mining base too, so at the end of the day, that's not the biggest of deals. But this is what it's trying to do, is win a position on the left side here, that 4th base, but Namshar controlling both spots pretty well.
Looks like two Archons can be loaded into a prism while this defense for Namshar happens at the 4th base. The Spine Crawl is actually helping about a fair bit.
Counterattack.
What are you doing? She's going to hell. See you later.
She is not doing much right now. She's just so much piles of goo on the ground. Well done by Namshar, though. That left side, the Hydras are not great, obviously, but if they're on creep, they can kite back and hold their own for a little while. And now even Namshar is going to get spicy and is going to push forward here.
Yeah, very caliente. He's going to come up here and hit that 4th Nexus, and there's not enough here for the Protoss to defend on his own. The static defense, not good enough. And he has to pull his whole army back here, giving Namshar more room to breathe.
This is really nice. He's getting damage done. Obviously, he's moving in here even and going to go ahead and I think target down the probes. Yes, there he goes. But what's really nice about this is Namshar doesn't want to max out on just Roaches and Hydra and a few Lurkers. He needs to free up some supply, but you don't want to lose them. Yeah, he's getting a good trade here.
Very nice move from Namshar. He's taking this game by the horns here. He's doing a good job. Looks like he's going for the Doom Drop again. The Zealots hitting to the natural this time. Going to be uncontested for the most part.
Yeah, some Zealots running in there at that natural. Going to get some damage done. Just a Queen there as well.
Yeah, these Zealots are actually going to do a good amount of damage here. Namshar is about to hatch a bunch of units. He's going to pull back and deal with them.
And there's what I want to see. He's making some Lings. Now, some people might be like, why are you making those Lings? Well, the Lings typically are obviously either Banelings or they are like the rapid response team to that kind of harass. Get in there and at least occupy the Zealots while the heavier hitters get over there. But this drop, okay, I thought it was, yeah, it is the drop. It's not going to be a drop for right now. There's no way.
Yeah, well, ShoWTimE's seen the drop overlords. Of course, they have a different skin in Legacy of the Void when they're drop upgraded, so he sees them and he knows that that was the plan there for Namshar. He's already got Stargates back at home, or a Stargate. No, he's got 2 Stargates, making those Tempests back there with that transition.
And he did get up that 4th base, so while it has been the Namshar show so far, I do have to draw attention to the fact that Namshar has not taken a 5th base. There's no Spire for him. And 2 Tempests, not a big deal. But if that gets up to like 4 or 6, all of a sudden Lurkers sitting there taking blasts, Hydra's taking blasts from something they can't touch because they're going into Immortals and Storm, becomes impossible.
This position of ShoWTimE's a little precarious, actually. He's in the middle of a big Zerg sandwich. Bunch of Lurkers on the left, bunch of Hydras on the right.
The Immortals by themselves. Well, there's nothing over there to get them, I guess.
Yeah, the Lurkers, I mean, they have been revealed there by the revelation of the Oracle, so they're not super effective on their own. Bunch of Banelings being morphed in for Namshar. He does still have those drop upgraded Overlords. They were tagged by ShoWTimE.
Why are all the Lurkers out there by themselves? What is that?
I think he wants to Lurker drop. He's waiting for the revelation to go
Lurker drop. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen it before. I mean, I don't know. I think Lurkers are just better engaging an army than getting used to harassment.
He's thinking about putting them at the top of the ramp and getting after the production. I guess the problem with that is Protoss has so many answers. Like, obviously there's Tempest, but you know, like if you don't have an Overseer over there, warp in 5 DTs and just go after him that way.
Force Fields here keeping ShoWTimE's army alive for now. Namshar still with a pretty healthy army. Army supply advantage is in ShoWTimE though, but a lot of that supply is in Tempests.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Tempests are a high supply count unit. Some Zealots picking a fight that they don't want to pick. Oh. And now Namshar's in the middle of a Protoss sandwich here.
What is going on?
He's going straight for the throat.
This is so precarious. His entire army's in the middle of Protoss everything. What have you done, Namshar? I hope you don't like storms because, oh my God, they're okay. ShoWTimE's going to wait. He's just playing it very patient.
His Templar going down to the Lurker splash damage. They do get some nice storms and they're very, very damaged, but they're still alive. And ShoWTimE actually doesn't have too much of an answer here. He has the Immortals on the left though, and they're going to come in.
Yeah, I guess he has no detection or something. He keeps walking into all these Lurkers. The 3rd base is getting destroyed. The DPS from the Tempest is just unimpressive. He can't see him. He cannot see him. He's losing the 4th base behind this. This looked to be the weirdest attack I've seen in a very long time, but it was met by the weirdest defense I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, I've not seen a bunch of Phoenixes lift a bunch of Lurkers out of the battle, but all things said and done, Namshar coming up on top in flying fashion, getting 2 Nexus kills, taking out a lot of the high-gas, high-tech units here of ShoWTimE, and he's an advantage in every single way right now.
I mean, what a massive swing that was. ShoWTimE looking to be invincible. Namshar inserts himself in the just strangest spot. Who the hell goes there? I mean, ShoWTimE's probably pissed. He's like, how did the Zerg even get there? Shows up and just doesn't have detection, so he walks into like 15 Lurkers, and it just takes 2 seconds for that to kill everything.
Yeah, his Lurkers upgrades not too shabby here for Namshar. He's going to the 3rd location. Looks like he wants to continue the siege here. Only not too many Lurkers, but a ton of Hydralisks here. That's a very, very high DPS Zerg army. Storm's going down here on the Hydralisks. Still plenty of them alive.
Oh,
and the
man.
High Templar nearly out of juice. And Namshar's going to press the issue here. The Hydra's taking the high ground. Tempest going to go down. Only 2. No, I think that was the last storm for ShoWTimE. GG.
Wow.
We're going to game 5.
Namshar pulling a rabbit out of his hat. You thought that was it. Then he pulls a walrus, a hippopotamus.
A giant handkerchief, multicolored.
That's the
together.
face of a guy that just made lurkers and is like, what happened? I don't
Yeah,
get
he actually looks in disbelief.
it. Lurkers were
Oh,
somehow
man.
killing Tempest. ShoWTimE, yeah, I mean, he does not understand. All right, well, hey, I mean, lurkers, you don't get to see him that often. Namshar utilizing them here, and if you just can't see him for 2 seconds, take a bad engagement, they pack a wallop, an absolute wallop. I mean, there was that one blast where it was like 3 Immortals and 6 Templar, womp, gone. And then when that happened, and the other thing here too, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but ShoWTimE's armies are very surgical. They're not like, it's not an infinite wave of Rotterdam charge lots or stalkers or something like that. It's a very skill-heavy army as opposed to the caveman style that Kevin does with his very simple mind.
And we have Namshar here on camera.
Oh, what's happening to him?
He's mentally composing himself for game 5. He's on the precipice of eliminating the favorite of this tournament, one of the favorites of this tournament. ShoWTimE coming in as the huge favorite of this series. Not just the tournament, and Namshar, the underdog, has found himself. He's very much earned this position to be going to Honor Grounds for this final map. Can he do it is the big question on everyone's lips here.
I've seen that face Namshar was just making, but it was certainly not related to StarCraft.
It might have been on a different website.
Wow.
Namshar is... he is...
Reel it in, Maynard.
Look.
Reel it in.
I gotta go blow for blow here.
Can't mention Reddit on a official cast like this. But we're gonna go into game number 5. It is gonna be Honor Grounds, a very large map, which is interesting because this entire match I've been wanting to talk about how it's been so dominant from ShoWTimE, and I'm gonna discount Namshar. Namshar gets up, uses the bathroom, comes back a different man. All of a sudden, his composition's just doing a lot better. He is making good choices. This drop stuff that he's been doing, he didn't even drop in that last game, but the threat of it kept ShoWTimE back at home, I feel, part of it at least.
Yeah. I mean, I was asking the question, does he get to regain his composure and reset his mindset after that
Oh my
short
God.
break there?
That guy's yawning.
I cannot believe there is someone
You're
yawning in the crowd.
yawning
Game
right
5
now?
of this incredible
oh
series.
my God.
Shame on you, sir.
Wow.
What's up, guys? That's actually starting to fill out there.
There we
really
go.
great crowd here in Austin. What a bunch of passion lords.
Team formless.
That's right. What's
These
up,
guys.
guys? Tempo, my man. Having a good time out there in the
Excited.
crowd. What is up, sir?
The Ghost of Christmas Past is here as well. That's incredible. Thank you so much. I won't make fun of all you. I swear. I think I'll actually get fired on the spot. But we're heading into game number 5. ShoWTimE. You know, you can see he's was not expecting this. Namshar. But let us remind you too, and I'm part to guilt for this. Namshar is one of the best European Zergs, and he's been doing very well. What is so cool about WCS is we constantly have that narrative of like, yeah, you've been doing well, but can you deliver here? And winning this round of 16 match against ShoWTimE, who is one of the favorites to win the entire tournament, would be incredible. It'd be amazing. Never mind the money, never mind the points. It would just be a nice accolade for someone that's been working very hard. Last time I saw Namshar was at Home Story Cup, where he had a decent run there as well, but similar thing. He ran into some players that are just the bigger names, and he seemed to disappear. But can he change his course of history right now?
Can he indeed? Familiar faces out there in the crowd. The StarCraft 2 squad of NA coming out in good fashion here. And Namshar's taking a short break here. He's walked off stage. Another toilet break. I mean, we saw how well that went for him.
Powered him up last
Great
time.
strategy. Yeah.
Jeez.
Unloading further, becoming a lighter player as we go into game number 5. It's just not too far away. There's a familiar face right there.
Yep, Dan's Gaming, a huge popular streamer. Twitch.
Yeah, Dan's
Incredible.
Gaming. I do enjoy watching his streams from time to time.
He's great. Hang on. Yeah, I was just going to say, this Voiders need to shoot that Leviathan. They're going to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, don't cross the streams, though.
Hopefully you guys are having a good time. Austin is an awesome city. I know our home audience online cannot enjoy it as well, but it's a beautiful city. It's wonderful to be here. Really friendly people. Great barbecue.
I actually still haven't had any barbecue yet.
Yeah.
Still haven't just yet. I feel like I'm really failing in Texas so far. I have had tacos, though.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it feels good, man.
They got good tacos here.
All right. So I think that Namshar might be back now, gearing up for Game 5. There he is, getting reset, reseated, and we are going into the final map any moment
Oh,
here.
let me ask you this, man. Earlier I heard
Do it.
people referring to where they were sitting as booths. That's, of course, a complete lie, propagated by those in power. What would you call what they're sitting in right now?
A desk.
Incorrect. It is actually a StarCraft race car. A
Thank you.
little race car cart. Look at that face
right.
again.
That's the little engine that could right
All
here.
right. Hopefully he is just relaxing himself. Usually you make that face while using the bathroom, not so much after. Could be a bit of a toxic situation. You know what's the easiest way to make an Aussie person laugh is reference poop or pee at all. Just any
No,
any
that's just
joke.
because my sense of humor stopped evolving when I was 16.
Very good. Well, we're doing it. Game 5 of this amazing series, ShoWTimE, the Juggernaut, being challenged here in ways we didn't think it was going to happen. We were expecting a Neeb challenge, but here it is, his opponents. Please, Maynard, you've got the voice for it.
It would be my pleasure. In control in the top left here. Winning the first 2, losing the next 2. Will he win number 5? This is ShoWTimE!
A little sweat on the brow, a little concerned.
Yes, composure cracking slightly here. And on the bottom left, with a brilliant last half of this series, will he close it out though? This is Namshar!
Might have to change his name to Namshar if that face continues anymore.
Please.
You know what I mean?
Please, in control.
Hey, if a joke writes itself like that, it would be I would be in trouble to not say it.
Oh, my God.
It's going to go with the safe hatch inside the main from Namshar, but we are going to see a fast scout from our Protoss player. Of course, if this happens online, you immediately accuse him of hacking. If it happens at a LAN, you go, you lucky son of a gun.
Yeah, that's right.
It's going to be able to at least hatch block there. The nice thing for Namshar is that he did not opt to try and hatch there first, so he's actually not being delayed at all. And it has seemed to be that he loves not 3 hatch before pool, but rather a pool of gas and to kind of escalate from there. So Namshar's not perturbed by this. And the other thing to talk about too, in these spawn locations, it's actually a pretty darn good one. The third base for the Zerg does get closer to the Protoss, which can be a good thing depending on their playstyle. The fourth base gets a little bit trickier for the Zerg because you don't want to take that left side one just below the Protoss because now you're getting really close. And they can do things like Tempest, Harass from there. Warp Prism is a problem. But your first 3 bases are fairly okay. And for the Protoss player, it's even better because every expansion you take at the top end of that map gets away from the Zerg, which is what a Protoss wants to do.
It is one of those maps that Tasteless would have called rotationally symmetrical.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, remember that? It's a callback to the old days. But, you know, so spawn position's good for Namshar to start off the things, but like In Control touched on, it's absolutely correct. The 4th base is very awkward. You can't take that gold without knocking down the structural rocks. Taking a 4th all the way out there is insane on the far right because you cannot defend it very easily. It's a very tough order once you get to 4 bases up to 5. You really want that creep spread. You want to have a nice, large army positioned between the Protoss and your infrastructure. But we see that ShoWTimE, once again, going for this fast Twilight Council. He's been doing this in the last half of this series.
Man, can you imagine if somehow Namshar is able to go down 0-2 and win 3-2 to just kind of really get back at it? I mean, Special did it earlier, by the way. He was down 0-2 against Iasanyu and clawed it back and won 3-2. And it takes a lot.
I saw his quote from Wax Angel on social media as well. He said they didn't move to Korea to play 50 games a day to lose here in Austin. So...
Well, that's going to be a tragic quote if he ends up losing.
Yeah, I mean...
Like, I guess you did move to Korea to lose here.
We all lose eventually. And it's not like he wins those 50 games every day.
That's true.
But Namshar, this would be a real Cinderella story to him on the stage right here, to take out one of the greatest foreigners of all time in StarCraft 2, all the way from 0-2 in a series in a best of 5. Pretty incredible.
And what does ShoWTimE reach for in the situation where finally he's the one that has nowhere to go? If he loses this game, that's it. He's got a couple of gateways being added. No third just yet. Fast resonating glaives. With just the 3 gateways, I believe it is, we're not seeing a full-on commitment just yet. You can expand off of that. It's a fine timing for an expand. Can you harass with that? A little bit. But with no robo, I do anticipate the 3rd to be the order of the day. And then he's just going to slide into that macro game he's so well known for.
And he's getting a Stargate behind us as well. Actually...
What? Oh, that's a late Stargate. That's double Stargate. So that's Phoenix. It has to be Phoenix.
Yeah, so Adept Phoenix here looking like it's going to be on the cards for ShoWTimE. Pretty strong unit composition.
Wow.
warp gate, sorry, is done for the gateways. And
I mean, so
once
with
again, Roach Warren from Namshar and the safety spores.
So what this does is it slows down his third pretty considerably, but again, ShoWTimE's pretty okay with that because the Phoenix are a good answer for everything that would threaten that third, and we've been seeing the same thing out of Namshar, which I don't anticipate changing now. And it's going to be, you know, Ravagers, some Roaches, that kind of stuff. The Roaches, of course, are a little bit difficult, but because Namshar does a style where his layer's a little bit delayed, his fourth isn't the fastest thing in the world, the Phoenix are going to kind of dictate the pace, I find. At least that's what ShoWTimE's hoping for. If they can pick up drones and threaten and force more Spore Crawlers, that's really good. You can't really attack into Phoenix. It's a very good call right here.
Adepts shading in. Looks like they're going to pull back here. Just touch up that, well, I guess, you know, deny mining time. He didn't get any drone kills there, but did touch up those lings and pulls back, waiting for those Phoenix reinforcements.
You know,
ShoWTimE going back home here.
You know what could be scary here, though? And this is very hypothetical. It's just something to think about. I don't think Namshar's going to do this because he just simply doesn't do it. But just forgetting Lair and just spilling out with Roach Ling right now and canceling the third and trying to go up the ramp, that's where Phoenix actually aren't great. And depending on how much the Protoss loses or invests in defending the third or the ramp, it could be the end of the game for them. But of course, the same is true for the Zerg, where if that attack doesn't work, they're dead.
Yeah, it's reasonably all in. I mean, the situation here is Namshar still hasn't seen a single Phoenix yet. He's not aware of this tech choice from ShoWTimE. Seeing Adepts, this many Adepts in the PvZ is not uncommon.
But he hasn't seen Oracles, he hasn't seen Dark Templar, no Warp Prism, so I feel like, and the revelation happens right now, he sees a decent number of Adepts, but he sees the Phoenix, and he should identify what's happening right now.
Yeah, and he's just finished droning up, so he doesn't have a ton of army supply. ShoWTimE actually has the army supply advantage.
He does.
Bunch of those Adepts shading into the main here. The Roaches getting this around. Is there enough Roaches? Yeah, with this reinforcement from the third, maybe. But the Phoenixes are going to lift a lot of them out of the battle here.
He's looking to actually just win the straight-up fight here. Shades forward towards that natural. Phoenix doing a good job just kind of reducing the DPS. He does end up losing a Phoenix there. And his third is just now going down. So you got to, again, it's all about the damage. Like, there is going to be damage, but it's how much he has to do because he's playing from behind.
Oh, another Phoenix going down.
And that's not good. I mean, he's killed
6 drones.
not that many drones.
No,
He's going to get some more here. This is where I go, I don't know, Maynard, but I do know Phoenix. That wasn't good.
Oh, man. ShoWTimE's attack not going spectacularly great for him. Namshar did take damage, don't get us wrong, but he needs to do more than that.
Yeah.
Bye, Emil.
We'll see what happens here. Great Overlord placement, actually, seeing that it is still Phoenix coming out. But really, the big thing here is the number of Adepts that died there means that there's not much in the way of ground DPS. And by not much, I mean a single Stalker, by the way, is his army right now. Excuse me, there's an Adept on a tower over there. He'll come over and help to the best of its ability. Photon Overcharge, but Namshar, is he pumping out units? Not really. It's going to be just remaking the drones. And perhaps that's a little bit where Namshar becomes the predictable one. A lot of Zergs after that kind of engagement would just be like, all right, let's do it. And they just start rolling their face over the keyboard and it's just whatever can come out. But he's not going to do that. Still no fourth base though, and that's where my breath catches a little bit.
Yeah, a fourth base would definitely make things a little bit more comfortable for Namshar here, but these Phoenixes are still looming. He wants the Hydralisks out to deal with them, isn't confident in his ability to just have Queens and Spores deal with this. He did drop extra Spores, though. It's like a second one in the main. A bunch of Overlords getting touched up here, but still more where that came from. Namshar does like to make huge clusters of Overlords at once.
I was in this position where I was like, I don't like it for ShoWTimE. I love it for ShoWTimE now. He's got double Robo Immortals coming out. With this Phoenix Harass, he's constantly not seeing anything. I mean, even Aspire would be terrible right now, obviously, right? Corruptor's super expensive, Muta's ineffective. I love ShoWTimE's positioning. He's got the fourth base to take that's really hard to get to for Namshar. Namshar has not even taken a fourth base. It hasn't been started or anything.
Yes, 3 hatcheries with Hydra Tech coming out.
And Hydras can get picked up. Like, if you can't afford to really insulate those Hydras, which without a fourth base, I don't know how you would, and you're constantly losing drones, what does he do?
Yeah, finding a link cluster here, not a huge deal, but the huge deal is that he's killing 9 drones, and that count is rising here with these Phoenixes. And the fourth base for Namshar, really hard to take. I mean, now that Muscular Augments is done, now these Hydras can leave creep and get that fourth a little bit safer, but it is going to be a tough while. Like, does he sit back and wait for this fourth to go up, and does he sit back and make drones, giving ShoWTimE all the time he needs to make an army and get that tech up?
Such smart play by ShoWTimE, by the way. I want to kind of talk about a very subtle thing that's going on here. A lot of Protoss would have been slamming out units as fast as they possibly could. If they're teching to Storm, they would just be making units which would cut in your gateway count. If you look at ShoWTimE's army, it's extremely light on the fluff units. Like, he doesn't have that many Zealots. He doesn't have that many Sentries or Stalkers. He's just pumping out Immortals consistently, and while he's doing that, he's adding gateways, he's getting the important upgrades. He's putting himself in a position to then spend the influx of money, as opposed to doing it all at the same time, which would be disjointed and bad. It's just a very nice thing to watch him do here.
Fourth Nexus getting delayed a little bit by that Ling, but not a huge deal. It does go down, only a couple seconds delayed there. Fourth hatchery just about to finish for Namshar, and he is getting his tech as well, but the Protoss tech is a little scarier. There's a lot of splash damage there with those storms going down. Charge nearly finished as well. Double Immortal at a time. It is pretty much an army we've seen from ShoWTimE every game, but it is...
And Namshar, to be fair.
And Namshar. Like, this is very much two different styles coming to face each other again and again in different situations, although this time we do have those Phoenixes still in the sky. Yeah, they are still useful. Like, they can lift a bunch of units out of the battle.
They're great against Lurkers, which is actually interesting because that's exactly where Namshar's heading. And if you pick up 6 or 7 Lurkers from a fight and then just destroy the Hydras that would otherwise be protecting them, that's a pretty good fight for a Protoss player. He's moving over here with his entire army to clean out the rocks. Of course, he's aware of the Protoss army. We've seen from ShoWTimE that he's not really the kind of guy to be like, oh, you're exposed, and then just like go and attack. He didn't even necessarily know. But he just constantly fighting back that creep and just keeping the Zerg on the edge of their seat.
And Namshar going to put me in the edge of my seat with 8 Drop Lords on the way here. Another Doom Drop seems to be on the cards here for him.
And I like it, by the way, because that's
it's a ton of Hydras.
Let's see if we get there.
Ton of
a lot of Hydras, and they're all on creep too. Got to be careful if you're ShoWTimE. Storm's good, but they can get out of that storm pretty quick. Like that storm, not impressive.
Yeah, a couple more where that came from is ShoWTimE though. We'll see if he gets those big connections. Namshar looking for a giant concave. He wants ShoWTimE to overextend here. Namshar can absolutely take this fight if he controls it well. That's another not so great storm, absolutely right. These Phoenixes not able to get too close and help out here because the Hydra's DPS is way too high.
Very tense. One thing notably missing from all this, by the way, is a Warp Prism. If I'm not mistaken, there's none out there, so the harassment...
Yeah, no, he's only been making Immortals from these robotics facilities.
Yeah, that's something that's been absolutely essential for ShoWTimE. Is that a mistake? He's got one somewhere. Oh, it's right above the army, okay.
It's the reinforcement one, so it's not harassing. And that means that ShoWTimE's forces are being concentrated into this one spot. One high Templar getting picked up for these roaches.
Going forward there, Lurkers doing what they can. The Phoenix die almost immediately. A lot of these storms not really catching that many units.
No, and Namshar's starting to climb an army supply here in control.
He is. The 4th base is not great here, though, so the situation's very dire for Namshar, but it's also dire for ShoWTimE. If he overcommits or takes a bad fight in this creep, it could be all over. It's having Zealots come in.
One Templar goes down to these Hydras. No storms left by the looks of things here for ShoWTimE.
Namshar, what is he going to follow this up with? Just more Hydras. 15 more Hydras about to pop out. Cannot lose that hatch. If you lose that hatchery, that's a huge production point, but also income. ShoWTimE, like you said, no storm. He's got one on the deck, I think.
And nearly one on that hydrant on the front. And there's 2 storms here from ShoWTimE. And that's it for storms, but he does get the hatchery. And is he going to leave now? He's going to keep picking this fight. The Hydras are going to shred through these Phoenixes.
Phoenix die almost immediately. A warping of Zealots behind this. But going up that high ground against all those Immortals, was that the mistake that ShoWTimE was waiting for? It might have been. Namshar losing a lot of Hydras there. He's lost the 4th base. It seems to be a very bad situation. Army supply dead even, and you never want to be there when you're down a base against Protoss.
And Namshar's going to have to pull a pretty huge rabbit out of a pretty small hat here. He has 11 Lurkers on the way, trying to take that 4th base, and he did clear up those rocks, but he didn't have the time or money to get that 5th base down there at the gold. If he had that base to fall back on, he's in an all right spot, but right now, not so much. All the hatchery's very, very low.
The Immortal's a little bit exposed here, but there's just no army behind it for Namshar to chase them down. I mean, imagine if he had those 20 or 30 Hydras, he'd be able to do something about this, but it's just, there's no insular units for the Protoss. Like every time Zealots wander forward, they die almost immediately, but he's able to escape because Namshar can't afford to chase him down with anything. There's nothing to do it.
I'd actually love to see Namshar double expand here, but it is precarious. We do have actually a charge lot run by the looks of things. ShoWTimE shaving off a bit of his army to shift click them and cue them towards that gold base location just in case. Big drop here. Looks like a bunch of Hydras going into the back natural ShoWTimE.
It's just not going to do anything. He fights into the Lurkers. That was the better fight for Namshar, and he didn't even do anything clever. He does get the units out of there, which is really nice, and with the 3 photon overcharge and the warp in, he pulls some of ShoWTimE's resources and attention away. But now it's ShoWTimE with the supply advantage. It's ShoWTimE with the up base, and now that Zealot counterattack you were talking about, it's not going to do massive damage, but just any damage it does, and even just occupying the army and getting to pull back over here and seeing that there's not another base is huge for ShoWTimE.
That's right. Zealots taking these Hydras for a merry walk here as Yeah, they're going really, really far away from where the majority of the Protoss army is on the high ground here.
Yeah.
High ground, very important in StarCraft 2. You have no vision there, and the Protoss can just spring unawares. And he is coming back into this fourth base location, getting his army onto that low ground. The Lurkers repositioning here, no one at that watchtower. So
he's going after the Hydras.
Yeah.
They're by themselves. They're in that middle
Here
island.
they come. So the Hydras are going to be able to get a bit of a flank happening here, but ShoWTimE's army does hit pretty hard.
Yeah, it's hard to flank with just Hydras, though, because, yeah, the DPS is huge, but they just do not tank very well at all. They get an Archon there, nice little hit.
Yeah, they're a bit of the kind of glass cannons here. And then now they're off by themselves. They need to go ring around the rosy here.
Gets them back, but again, ShoWTimE, like all this army motion is with purpose. Oh, he might even lock them in place. The Zealots make the sacrifice to block the Hydras. And yeah, it's like a trade you want to call it, but it's just so bad for Namshar to be trading. Every one of those Hydras is so much more important for him than it is ShoWTimE.
ShoWTimE now using the Warp Prism to get some of that harassment done. He's done so well. It's worked so well for him in this series so far. And this backdrop natural is going to do nice work. The Lurker's actually getting a ton of damage on ShoWTimE's army there. Observer now coming through. Now he has detection. Now he can press the issue with this huge immortal count. Some of them are quite low, though, but it looks like just enough from ShoWTimE to crack Namshar's defenses.
And he jumps up on the clumped Lurkers there. He's going to disengage because it's a safer call. He's got an unanswered for Zealot warping in the main. I believe the Natural's being tore up as well, or maybe it's getting cleaned up by something over on the right side. It did get cleaned up. Just really nice. And now the Storm's on top of all the Lurkers. ShoWTimE has dialed it up to 11. Yes, this series got close. Yeah, it was scary, but ShoWTimE showing that he is the force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, he's ahead in every single way right now. It's going to be very, very tough for Namshar to do anything at this point. StarCraft is, in the end, a game of numbers, and there is just not a whole lot of numbers here for Namshar. The only thing that's been high lately is the amount of drones killed. And there is a huge transition for ShoWTimE. The Tier 3 scary Doom endgame unit is the carrier, and that is on the way for ShoWTimE, making them 2 at a time for these targets.
And Namshar's just adding more Lurkers, just hoping desperately for a similar fight to the last game where ShoWTimE just didn't have the detection and walked over a massive, line of Lurker hits. Not today. He's taken to the skies. He's going to go carrier. He's doing it slowly, which is the smarter way to do it. They take forever to build. They're supply dense. Storms just being landed. And all the while, he's just saying, you can't afford to expand. You have to remake units you don't want. He's just siphoning off a little bit of life force, basically, from Namshar. And now when the carries show up, I don't know. Namshar's got to take a deep side. There's nowhere to go. It's single elimination, so he's going to give everything he's got, but he knows he's up against it.
Yeah, I mean, Hydras, they have anti-air capabilities, but with this many Protoss units, with this much splash damage, the Lurkers, in fact, clumped up here. The carriers and the Storm getting rid of a couple of them here. And he does have Hydralisks. He can engage them, but he needs more than this if he wants to be able to take a great fight here. The carrier's pressing the issue. The fourth base is going to go down again, and that looks like it's going to be the end for Namshar if he doesn't get an incredible fight here.
No, Namshar's doing a little bit of harass behind. It's really nice, but he's lost the fight at his fourth base. There's nowhere really to retreat to. He's mustered up a little bit of units. Even the drones are like, I guess it's time for us to contribute, but it's just not going to be much. Namshar, you played well, friend, but you ran into the German wall that is ShoWTimE, and ShoWTimE, he's got a day of destiny with Neeb. GG, well played, good luck. Namshar taps out.
Beautiful series from both these players. That went all the way to Game 5. I didn't see that happening. It's the series of the day so far. That was extremely exciting. I had a great time casting with you, Jeff. And that's our first cast together, either?
Yeah, I think it might have been our first. Namshar, tip of the hat to you, buddy.
Yeah, great gentlemanly play from him. Great sportsmanship as well. Wishing his opponent good luck in this tournament. And he will go on to face Neeb in the round of 8. And let's head to the stage with Smix for an interview with the winner.
Thank you very much, Maynard. Congratulations, ShoWTimE. You are moving on to the quarterfinals, but that definitely was not an easy series for you.
Yeah, for sure not. Like after I was 2-0 up, I felt it's kind of going easy. But the next 2 games were, I don't know, like I couldn't really do anything. Feel like I was running around and I couldn't do damage. So I think I played not that well in the 3rd and the 4th game. So kind of messed up there.
Yeah, and I feel like when we think about close best-of-5 series for you against Zerg players, we usually think of the Nurchios, the Snoots. In this particular series, what do you think Namshar did particularly well in games 3 and 4?
He plays like this lurker style, which is not that common anymore right now, I would say. And he goes for counterattacks a lot, just sieges you up, and goes for like mass mutas in late game. So I'm not really sure. I think if I defend a bit better, I could have won those games. But I always tried to attack somewhere, and I couldn't do anything. Then I lost my bases and kind of went downhill. So.
Well, luckily you were able to take that 5th map to move on to the round of 8, where you will be facing Neeb. Now, up until now at WCS Austin, you faced 3 Zergs, and now you have a very strong Protoss player ahead of you. So what are your thoughts?
Like, Neeb always beats me in PvP in tournaments, so I'm a bit worried. But recently, I think I might have a bit better PvP than him. At least, like, in practice, I think I win a bit more right now. So if I play my usual level, I think I can beat him this time, and I really want to beat him this time.
All right, well, congratulations again, ShoWTimE. And with that, it'll be our WCS Spring Champion moving on to the round of 8.
Yes, it will. ShoWTimE advancing on forwards. There's been a few walls in the history of Germany that have fallen down, but it seems like overall ShoWTimE is not going to be one of them just yet, Roddy.
No, it was a fun series. It lasted a long time. That was a very long best of 5. I feel almost every single game got dragged out. Even in the games where you felt one player had a massive advantage, it wasn't over yet. I actually felt in the 5th game, Todd, I don't know how you felt about it, but after the initial Phoenix Adept, I was actually kind of worried for ShoWTimE's tournament live there. I was like, if he just maxes on Roche Hydra now, I think with that relatively late turn and then going double Robo after already going double Stargate, that means that Storm is going to be incredibly late. I was a little worried, but it's good to see
I was worried
the
as
German
well,
advance.
but then I remembered his ShoWTimE, and I think he remembered too. It was like, you know what? I beat the lurkers of Serals, I beat the lurkers of Nerdcho. I'm not going to lose to the lurkers of Namshar, and just solid enough in the end. My prediction was right. I said 3-2.
Yeah, you did.
So
very clear.
Glad that Namshar could put up a fight. Those Mutas in game 3 definitely helped, and maybe a weird transition to Tempest in those game 3 and 4, I would say, didn't help ShoWTimE at all.
Did you feel like the evolution and the transition throughout the entire series were a very exciting thing to watch? I mean, it felt like in that game 5, ShoWTimE was like, okay, game 3, Mutas were annoying. Game 4, Lurkers were annoying. Phoenix to open up is kind of the answer to ward off that mid-game being annoying on both fronts.
I mean, it was very fun, and both players will obviously try to outthink each other, but there is one thing that I loved most about the series, that's something we see Nerdcho often do, that's that big drop. It's almost like you're watching Terran play, you know, you pick up 6 Overlords full of units, you send them into the main. I swear, almost like 85% of the time that I see this, it works, right, Todd? Like
when he does it, right?
Yeah, but Nerdcho or Namshar in this case, I feel like it almost always works, yet we see it so rarely, and it doesn't make sense to me.
Todd, did you have updates as to what had gone on during all of that?
Yeah, so Cham beat Probe 3-1.
Okay.
It was the action-packed series. Like they really got into each other's face. Cham is like almost like a new generation Violet. I feel in a way he loves to make a ton of roaches and then swarm you if he sees an opening. And I'm glad to see Mexico get some success, man. We had an amazing tournament, WCS Intercontinental earlier over in Mexico, and now to see these guys, 2 of them making top 8, the 2 best Mexican players, it's really huge, I think, for them, for their scene. I mean, they're not even the only good players from Mexico. You guys got like guys like Maker and Jim Rising as well. So really happy for them. And I think Cham in particular, I spoke with him before his match. He's like, I have to win. I need to play on stage. I really want to play on stage. It always makes me so happy to hear this from a player, to be so enthusiastic to play on stage. And now he will get that opportunity later.
Well, I'm getting word that we can check in with the brackets to update you as to what has gone on so far here in the round of 16. So let's check in with that, as we do have the complete updated 5 players already moving into the round of 8. Serral going up against Special, Neeb against ShoWTimE, who have had amazing series in the past against one another, and Cham making it a number 5 spot there so far. What do you make of it?
I think it's awesome. Like you said, Neeb against ShoWTimE. I always think back of that series at the Inter Extreme Masters in Shanghai 2016. That game on Apotheosis is, in my opinion, the game of the year. That was just one of the most bizarre PvPs I've ever seen. Where, like, I think I changed my opinion around 7 times who I thought was going to win that game. And it was just awesome to watch. So I really hope we'll see something like that. And I couldn't agree more with Todd. 2 Mexicans in the top 8. I mean, is this the World Cup of football or something? Like, you know, are they finally not getting penalties against them in the 92nd minute? Like, this is awesome. I mean, it's
well,
really
a Dutch player might make it in top 8, so definitely not the football World Cup.
We might see ShoWTimE tripping a little bit then.
That's a good question, because that is going to be our next series coming up here on the main stage. It will be True going up against ShoWTimE. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to go to a short break here for WCS Austin, and when we're back, it's ZVT. ShoWTimE goes up against True.